Today on Mob Rules.
We talk about Spandex.
And facts.
And the Inquisition? I'm confused where the Spandex comes in.
All that, some Twix, and not much else on
Mob Rules. Where did the Spandex come? Yeah, welcome to Mob Rules.
Yeah.
What episode
back,
around?
John.
Because there's been some confusion.
73?
74 actually,
74?
because the one I edited was 72.
Oh.
And then you came back and edited one, but just went by the numerical order that was in your folder, I'm assuming.
Oh, shit. So there's two 72s?
There's two 72s.
Oh, damn.
Which one's better? Let us know.
Oh. All right. Have you heard people talk about that? Like, anybody brought it up?
There was one person who commented and was like, hey, what do you mean 72? Do you mean 73? And I'm like, nah. Just deny. Yeah. I'm John, joined
John.
by
I'm Ted.
and again by
Hi, I'm Danny.
Hi Danny.
Hi, Danny. We need more volume on the Danny.
Yeah, we need to hear Danny more.
Where's the Danny?
Well,
hey.
That's me. That's the
Oh.
correct. Yeah, that was,
That's the
no,
correct one to drop.
keep turning that one down.
I was gonna say that was the right call
That's
right
rude.
there.
All right. So there's Danny.
Yeah, can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me? Tune in Tokyo. There. All right, there we go.
Oh man, I mean this is.
Yeah, we
this
should have
is
done this a while ago.
I think people have
It's on the fly.
That's right.
people have missed a really good levels adjustment period. You know, it's what all good podcasts have at the start. You know, some people have like hobby progress and challenges. We just have level adjustment.
You know, I think that, like, that was something I actually forgot that I enjoyed. Like back when we had the old board, that like everything had to be like right out the box instead of being able to like adjust it after the fact. You know?
Yeah.
Remember the stories about the bunnies?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
I do. Yes.
So some of those actually made it into the podcast.
I kind of miss those a little bit, but at the same time, it's kind of nice having the new board where we can just cheat and be like, yeah, Dad, I'll fix it in post.
We cherry pick the pieces we like. You know.
Though, I've went on my own recording journeys and started kind of recording stuff sans Ted.
Oh, okay.
And there's been times where I'm recording and I'm like, I'll go to edit it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, so if I fix all the issues, it sounds like I'm underwater in a cave with no one else. But if I don't fix it, it sounds like I'm in like a giant cavern with a billion people.
Huh.
But that was just my stupidity.
That's all
Live
right.
and learn.
Stupidity happens.
Yeah, that's what it is.
Danny, you look like you have to fart or something.
No, not really.
Yeah.
Not
He
yet.
doesn't
Taking it all in.
doesn't have to, but he wants to. But yeah,
Don't count me out.
it's been a real busy month for me anyway.
Or yeah.
I was gonna say, I had to miss last time because work was stupid,
Oh yeah.
and
yeah.
because I make the medium bucks, I have to go fix some problems.
the medium bucks is more than the bucks that I make. So that's all right.
You get the creative bucks.
Yeah, the sporadic creative bucks mixed in with the crap I need a coupon because I can't quite afford that right now.
Oh, but Michael's is so good for that. But no,
I haven't gone back to dumpster diving in a while. That used to be so much fun.
So I did used to,
Yeah?
not really dive into the dumpster, but you got some pretty good stuff from around the outsides of it.
Oh, what was that?
And when I lived in Washington, you would drive around.
Yeah, you guys probably have
people,
better dumpsters than we do.
Well, no, people would push out shit to the edge of the street because they didn't want to pay for people to come and take their table and everything away.
Oh, so you're talking like residential.
Oh yeah, residential.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, like a sidewalk couch.
Yeah, sidewalk
Okay,
couch.
those are good.
I've owned several of those.
Yeah, very comfortable. As dark as you
Vomit
possibly
may or
can.
may not be included.
I was gonna say, get as dark as you possibly can, so there's no questions.
It's for the best.
It's only trust.
There was a while where I think like Petco and like Pet Zoo and what was the other one? PetSmart.
Ted, are you eating dog food?
I think like one of them they had dumped I don't know, it was 16 bags of dog food. So I grabbed up a bunch of them and started handing them out to my friends. It was just barely expired dog food, which I don't think anybody should care enough about their dogs to throw dog food out.
Man,
I'm just kidding.
my dog eats expensive food.
Oh, does he really?
Yeah.
Oh.
No, I'm just kidding. He eats Costco food. but he's an expensive dog. So
Oh, okay.
luckily for us, he doesn't have a lot of allergies.
Oh, good.
But Some dogs, like especially dogs that are as inbred as mine, like they can have some major food allergies, and then that gets expensive. So you have to give them special food. Oh man, he is not allowed to have like fruits and vegetables as treats because it's foul, so foul.
I made the mistake of like changing the dog food like twice, and like ever since then it was like I remember at one point like 3 a.m. hearing this like waking up to. And like looking at the foot of my bed, and like the dog had just like laid a huge pile, and threw her outside, and like there I was at 3 a.m. with like the rug cleaner, like half naked, like cleaning that shit. But yeah,
just that dog owning life.
Yeah,
and this is why we don't talk about in-game stuff.
that's right.
It takes away from the serious conversation.
I haven't had any gamers like have the squirts on my bedroom floor, so none is exciting. Yeah.
Oh man,
has it happened, Danny? Or
have you not?
Like, can I come over?
I mean, our carpets aren't that great, I guess. So
it's all right.
Yeah.
It's a rental.
It's a rental.
Fuck it. We're buying a house, bitches. Enjoy the carpet cleaning.
Yeah. Lovely.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, what have you guys been up to?
Good segue.
Oh, man. Yeah.
Like,
I've been up to so much, almost a month's worth of stuff.
wow.
I know. It's crazy how that works there.
Mathematical.
We had our first Ultramar tournament of the new era, of it moving away from being a new player only kind of thing to like an everything event.
Okay.
So part of that was reworking every single mission that we had there, because essentially what we were running before was just like really cheap ripoffs of old ITC missions from 7th edition.
Okay.
With like very minimal changes.
But great names.
Yeah, with great names. And then I continued that tradition forward. So like I wrote 6 new missions for this packet. And they all have fantastic names. You have Linebreaker featuring Pitbull, obviously, returning favorite. And then what was it? Terms of Enrampagement.
Yeah, that was great.
Another one.
Good reference.
But yeah, so like again, like when I was talking to someone about it, so like when I write missions, I start with some kind of pun-based title and kind of work backwards from there.
See, this is why I've never played an Ultramar.
Yeah, because you don't like puns.
No, I get like this rash on the back of my knee every time I hear a pun. That's not a challenge, Danny. Please put it on the microphone. You're feeling for your rash.
But it turned out really well. Like I said, I was a little unsure of some of the missions. Like I said, it was drastically changed up from the format it was before. So like before, where there was like a primary and a secondary, and you got to figure out who wins primary and then who wins secondary. There was just the primary, and then the secondary was just sportsmanship. So cool. After every game, you got a 5-question questionnaire that said, would you willingly spend your free time to play this person again? Did this person explain what your army did?
Soft scores. That's awesome.
So while like the decision I made with those is they don't affect your individual round standings, but they affect kind of your final overall performance. The other thing we put in there was that if your score was less than 4 after the second round, you would not be asked to compete in the third round.
Whoa. Okay.
Because if you can't get 40% out of 2 games and some real soft questions.
And people throw people people generally don't discount people, soft, like the sportsmanship, like everybody's trying to give like 90%.
Yeah, but I mean, Danny, you were there, you saw the questions. It would be really, really hard to get less.
You would have to be a giant a-hole in order to get 4 points.
And then the other thing we put in was I introduced about 15 what I called tertiary missions, where you picked 2 things a game that you were going to do, like kind of get borrowing from what ITC does right now. But there's all like kind of standard things. So it was like Linebreaker. If you pick Linebreaker, if you had a unit in your opponent's deployment zone, and then in a game you got 2 points. Yeah. And so like you could pick it and tailor it based on your opponent. So you could kind of maybe, if you were like, if I was matched against UTAD and then like, well, shit, there's no way I can possibly score anything against this. Like kind of avoiding that. So like there's always a chance. Okay. But yeah, they turned out really well. Had some really good feedback on some wording and things like that. Everyone seemed to have fun with them. It was just like kind of the feedback we got was like, hey, I need clarification on this. And I'm like, oh, I really should have written that down like a little better. Yeah, it was a really good turnout, a really good event. It was really, again, good feedback on that. So I was super happy with that there. I also purchased a table full of terrain. Of,
Nice.
MDF cancer terrain.
Something about like being one and done and just like not having to go back and like piecemeal shit and then realize that you didn't quite have enough and need to go like buy more. Like that's something about that. Like it's rewarding.
Yeah, and especially because there's like a bunch of different tournaments and stuff that I'm running that are expected to be, no, casual. No, they're expected to be kind of like competitive, so like tables like with appropriate amounts of terrain and line of sight blocking.
Okay.
Like I decided to just kind of pick up a set where it's like a set layout. This is how it is. It has like 4 pieces of line of sight blocking terrain, and it's easy to put together, and kind of everything will be in one box. I don't have to worry about it. I don't have to like set up for a game and then be like, shit, I don't have any scatter terrain, or man, I really hope I don't get this deployment zone because I'm boned. So I started putting that together.
That was the that was from Frontline, right?
Yeah, that was Frontlines. I got their was it field battle set.
So is that all set up? Like at one point, like they had like a map almost. Like, all right, it has to be like 4.3 pieces of terrain of this size and quality or whatever.
You might be thinking of Nova.
Do they do that?
The Nova tournament had like specific measurements on how far away different pieces of terrain were supposed to be.
Okay.
And like the minimum height for a piece in the center and things like that. So
we were using a template like that at one point up here, right? Years ago? Or?
We might have at one point. I'm not sure though, because like every table at Nova is the same. Because it has like the same terrain, like it's like 2 forests, 2 ruins, 2 like it's all symmetrical. So
okay. It seemed like LVO was that way a couple years ago. Like when I went, like it was almost the exact same. They had like 3 or 4 different tables, and it was the exact same terrain.
And,
like,
and they may try. I mean,
I think, with LVO they have about 4 or 5 different table types.
Okay.
And it kind of gets replicated, but I think that's like an ease of setup because right now they're like what 300, 400 people.
No. This last year was 512 people was the size of the tournament.
It's a lot of meat.
They didn't get I mean, obviously, like you have a lot of last minute dropouts. So I think that they started like dice rolling with around 470.
Oh shit!
But they had all 512 tables or 256 tables like set up.
Okay.
But I think they had to borrow some terrain this year because there was not all tables were created equal. I'll just say that. Because they were a little wonky.
Last year they had a really neat thing where I think like after the end of it, like you could buy that table.
Yeah, they did do that with some of their older terrain. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, retired some, but I think they've even started keeping some because holy shit, if it's like 520 people this year or whatever it is, like next year, especially if they keep on FAQing it as like they do,
man,
it's gonna get crazy
it's
good.
What is this, like LVO 6 or something? Or it's pretty young.
Ooh.
So it's,
no, you're right. I mean, it hasn't been going on for very long, for sure.
But like the growth of it is ridiculous. But I guess that's what you get for holding it in a major hub party town.
I think they were saying they get about 50% growth every year or something like that.
That's bananas. That's a lot.
That's huge.
Yeah.
I don't get that. Half inch or so.
Yeah, that's good that it's good that you quantify it.
Yeah, it's
not that kind of growth.
Inverse, not less one. Anyway.
So speaking of inverse,
another great segue.
What have you been up to in the past couple of weeks?
Oh man. So I can't remember if I mentioned that I played a game. So my friend Tyler and Nick. Nick hasn't played, but he's been like really vehement and like interested in 40K and his orcs, and like each time he's like, man, I'm gonna buy this and this. He gets really excited about things, and so Tyler and I are like, I can see like Tyler just biting his tongue, and I do the same too. And after every once in a while, I'm like, all right, you gotta play a fucking game first before you like spend too much money. And so we like, it took a while, and I gave him like a major like hand wringing one day. He's like, okay, I'll play a game with you guys this weekend. And I'm like, crap, I got like a whole bunch of plans. Okay, I'll back out of all my other plans, and we'll do this. And then
plans are for suckers.
So we get him over, and I think like it was neat because like it was neat to like, because I think like after a while, when you've been playing so long, your mind starts working in one particular pattern. Like you start to think in the progression of thought that you've adapted for the last like however many years, and I think it's kind of neat and refreshing to like have somebody come in with like all these questions, and you're like, no, like my instantly I want to be like, no, you idiot, it's not that way, it's this other way, and like, oh no, wait, that's right, you have not experienced all those other ways, and so you don't necessarily come to those pre-conclusions.
I have a term for that.
What is that?
Addition fatigue.
Yes.
Yeah. Especially Ted, for you, where you've just played like a whole bunch of second edition games.
Right.
And then now into 8th.
Yeah. Wow, those are very polar opposite.
Yeah, he's going to be like, yeah, my captain's throwing a vortex grenade. They're like, what?
Is that a stratagem?
Sure.
So you're going to get my movement template out and make sure.
Where's your vehicle data sheet?
Yeah.
I thought that was just a coaster.
Oh man, the foot of Gork and Mork, like the thing was amazing. Anyway, so we're playing with him, and I think like it was neat. Like after the fact, like, all right, so what did you learn? He's like, okay, I guess I will change like these certain other things, and so like it felt really good. Like is like, all right, we're gonna get you on like a positive path, and then like after you spent all this time like creating a Morkanaut, you're gonna realize like that was last edition. Here's a Gorkanaut, like. So that was really cool. And then it's been like very limited on the 40King, otherwise like hobbying, because I got like, I probably saw pictures, I know you've seen pictures at least, of the like the tribal health consortium locally. Like,
yeah, you did this really rad like diorama.
That looks great. The guy's blue jeans are really good.
Gray, like adding gray to blue, like it took me a while to figure that one out. Like, oh right,
did
like,
you
blue jeans aren't typically
ever
blue.
think about kind of doing like a stop motion animation movie?
Oh, that guy.
Yeah.
So just to kind of set it up, like, so they were doing this like septic system, and it's like 1/24th scale roughly. The guy's the size of a GI Joe, which is amazing because I found at one point like I grabbed my son's Kylo Ren doll or like action figure and stuck it in there into this like mock toilet like bathroom, and he, like took pictures of him like gazing into the mirror that I got from like a doll supply at Michael's. So but yeah, it's like the bathroom and like everything that goes in, like goes into this tiny little septic tank that down there, and I had to create the base for it, but we 3D printed everything else, and yeah, so that was really amazing, and I was really proud of myself because I found like one of the Emiger water transfers, and I gave him like a little stallion.
Oh
on his
yeah,
shirt.
Yeah.
So a little 40K slipped in there.
nice job.
Yeah, and I'm probably the only person that would notice it. Like,
Way to nerd it up.
Yeah,
I thought you just painted that, so now I'm even more impressed.
Thanks.
Because everybody knows using water slide transfers is way harder than actually painting stuff.
Yeah.
There's a reason none of my stuff has transfers.
Thankfully, it wasn't a Space Marine shoulder pad. Like, the worst. So I think that was about, and it's been like a lot of like just dabbling with other little things, like wanting to take a break and work on a Spartan or work on, like what I've found is I leave all my orcs like on a shelf next to my paint station. So as I'm going along and like painting something with my airbrush and I have like a little bit of like some ochre color, I go, oh, I'm gonna paint that orc's pants. There we go. So now like slowly all the orcs that haven't been painted have like different colored pants.
So they're getting painted by association.
Exactly. They get hand-me-down pants from various projects.
Nice.
Yeah. So, but I think that's about all I've been up to. Feels like a lot, but it's just a lot of time. And
No, it is. That
things.
is a lot.
Yeah. What have you been up to, Danny?
Let's see. So I'm just gonna rewind back about a month.
Oh, okay.
So that seems like
That's a cool thing to do.
Yeah, I've heard it's a thing to do.
Yeah.
As you do, so to speak.
Gotta
Yeah.
stop showing up on the podcast so I can like tell you about stuff I've done in a month. Okay, go back to the Wayback Machine.
So yeah, the way
So
back.
you got like a month and a half since you were last on, right? Or is it 2 months?
Yeah, which is actually like a shorter time period than I ever have been on the podcast. So
So the last time was like a year and a half.
I expect to have like a guest star like credit in this episode. So
It'll be a really good visual right at the end.
yeah, there you go. Nice. Thank you. That's important to me, a visual in the podcast.
Well, when Dave gets stopped by the Icelandic INS and is deported back to the Icelandia, or I don't know, like kept there until his terrorist visa.
He's got to eat those rotten Greenland sharks that they hang out for like 6 months.
I can't do an Icelandic accent. John,
I don't even know what that is. It's like Nordic, I guess.
I mean, not with insulting at least 20 people.
Sure. Just visualize Bjork.
Okay.
I mean, You do.
I mean, don't do that, but like,
that's swan dress.
ew. Anyway, so hobby stuff.
What you
There
been
you
up
go.
to?
So, let's see. So I've had a couple of armies released for codexes that I like. I've had Necrons and Dark Eldar come out, which I'm super excited about both books.
Oh, okay.
Gotten to play a couple games with each codex. I got to play with the Necrons in the last Ultramar tournament,
Oh, rad.
which was pretty cool.
How do you like the new book?
The new Necron book?
Yeah.
It's super cool.
Okay.
Yeah, I really like the different dynasties are all really powerful and good. And they feel, I mean, fluffy based on what fluff there is for the different dynasties, right?
Okay.
Because they haven't really, I don't know that they've actually defined like a style of warfare for each Necron dynasty in the past.
not really.
Like, so I think that they're getting kind of more into that and giving them their own personality, so to speak. Like some of them are more standoffish, some of them are more aggressive, that kind of thing.
So it seemed like the flavor of the army almost came from the Overlord or whatever
Sure.
the character. Do you feel like they took the Overlord as like a cue for their playstyle, or?
Well, okay. So like for me, I'm most interested in the Nihilak dynasty.
We got you on edge.
Ooh, yeah. Ooh.
All right. Take your shirt off and throw in.
Not today. So, all right. So I'm really interested in the Nihilak dynasty because that's the way that my Necrons are painted. I think they look really cool. That's the teal and gold. So they're supposed to be super rich. So they have to like display their gold, and they're kind of standoffish. So they're really defensive. And their overlord is Trazian the Infinite.
Okay.
So he's the guy who goes around and collects stuff. So he's got like Creed on stasis and some mysterious figures and stuff like that.
Does he have gold teeth?
I mean, he probably
He should have a gold grill.
Yeah.
If you paint him,
Yeah.
give him a gold grill
Yeah. Okay, I can do that.
that says Necrontyr on the
I'll
each
show you.
tooth.
Yeah, right. I'll give him a gold eye drop too, Ted.
Thanks.
Like
Teardrop
teardrop tattoo. Yeah,
I killed someone once.
That's how he got to the Overlord position.
That's right.
He had to blood in or oil in.
God, he shanked a motherfucker on the
he's
crypts.
he's super cowardly though, like in the fluff,
Oh,
because like he transfers his consciousness into other Necron lords when he dies.
oh, okay.
Like, and so he's like subsumes their
I mean,
their
that's
personality.
just smart. That's not cowardly.
Well, I mean, I don't know. Okay, sure. Anyway,
like if you get shot and you put your brain in another body, you're like, the coward didn't die.
yeah, okay. I don't know. He just is. He's a little bit tricky for my mindset as far as Necrons go. They're not like, I would say they're pretty like the single-minded annihilation kind of theme that they have has always been my favorite part about them. Like they don't really care about anything else other than exterminating life. I mean, now though, of course, as the Codex has evolved and things like that, they have other motivations,
Oh, okay.
and they're not enslaved by the Satan and that kind of stuff. So that, I mean, that stuff has all changed. Anyway, so I like the I really like the Necron book. It's pretty good. I had a really good time at Ultramar. I took kind of a really nice balanced list and was able to do pretty good. And it was cool to see some of the newer players to the game, and hopefully I've given them some tips and things like that that they can use as they go forward.
Get good. Read your book. Quit sucking.
I think one of the things we
Gosh, Danny, thanks a lot. I hadn't thought about not sucking. You're the best.
one of the things like we put in the Ultramar missions again to kind of like to not scare the newer players away is there's an entire phase before the game begins where you sit and describe your army and explain the synergies it does. So if like
weird.
before the game, like this is my Eldar army, I'm going to use the Cloud Strike stratagem on this big thing here to keep it off the so when you're playing the game, there's no, oh shit, you can do that, because a lot of these players aren't going to be able to be like, say, someone like us who spends like thousands on books for armies we don't play, or in Danny's case they do play. So like
Which armies all?
So yeah, there's this entire round with the explanation, and then at the end of every game, Danny was like, "Hey man, do you mind if I give you some advice?" And he'll sit and go. He went back over the game with a couple of the guys. I mean, you could have done this and this here, and you did this really well, and it was like really a great learning experience for them.
That's cool.
Yeah.
See, I think like if I had played in that, it would have been like, so what are the synergies? Well, the orange goes really well with the purple, and like I think his cape kind of adds like a flow to the.
Like, what's a synergy?
If you look at this color wheel,
the complementary colors are really.
No, I just want you the next
Attention.
game to be like hold up a color wheel and just play some really soothing music and just slowly rotate it around and just be like synergy.
God, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So
That's why I win.
super, yeah, dude. Well, it's all about the colors that I put on my models. Let me tell you. And the Dark Eldar book came, Drukari, sorry.
Yeah.
That came out. Super excited about that as I am an Eldar fanatic. So I'm really looking forward to getting. Yeah, whatever.
You can't
Don't
correct
use-
yourself on
don't-
Dark Eldar. And
Don't I won't. Don't use my slave name.
Mr. Johnson.
So yeah, sorry. So I like the Eldari a lot. So it's man, that book is so good. Like it's so good. I'm super excited about getting them on the table, but we'll see. I got another couple tournaments left to play. I'm going to be playing some demon. I'm going to be playing demons in the next couple tournaments.
Oh, cool.
So because I'm trying to get that ITC score up for those. 'Cause I'd like to.
Because you were third overall. In
Yeah,
right now,
I
right?
was third like maybe a couple of weeks ago. I've dropped down to sixth, but I'm the highest person with 2 events under my belt.
How many people have scores like
Oh, this
on
year?
demons so far?
Oh, I don't know. Probably, 50 or 60 probably, I would
Okay.
guess.
Stall. I'm working on it.
All right.
Wow, it's like in the top 6% or whatever. Like
But-
you're in.
Well, yeah, and I'm
Third.
like, I want to say I looked today, I was like 140th overall in ITC, which
Oh,
is not
wow.
bad.
That's
not bad.
amazing. How many people are in the ITC?
Last year was 8,000, but I was
Okay.
like,
There is currently
Phenomenal.
124 demon Chaos
Okay,
demon
cool.
players.
so yeah,
Badass, Danny.
that's pretty good.
Yeah.
I'm happy with that.
Yeah.
And hopefully I can get that score up once I get some more events in there, under my belt.
So, did they do like the best in faction awards at Elviola this
Yeah,
year?
yeah.
Did you get one?
No,
Oh,
no, I made
because
top,
they didn't have a Legion of the Damned section.
yeah, that was it. I made top 20 in Eldar,
Oh, okay.
which is pretty good. Like top 20 overall, and I was 102nd overall in ITC. So I just almost didn't. I almost broke that top 100, which is what I would really like to do this year. So,
You gotta
Life
keep
goals.
rolling those demons then, right?
well, yeah, I'll probably switch to something that I'm better with once I get done. I'll probably switch to Eldar or Dark Eldar, or a combination
Sisters battle.
thereof.
Yeah.
Nah, I
The
just
one
don't-
army. Do you have one?
No,
Sisters?
not anymore. I
Oh,
sold
okay.
them. I mean, I've had them.
Yeah. We've all had them.
Yeah.
I remember I was like 15 and I bought a Canoness because I was going to start Sisters of Battle Army, but then
Yeah.
young me figured out how much that would cost. And then I was like, I'm going to go back to my Dark Angels.
Was that when you could buy them on the peg?
Yeah. Yeah,
Oh,
like
okay.
the blister packs on the pegs.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was. And they were like,
Classic.
look at this beautiful Battle Sister squad for only like, I think it was like 60 pounds or something like that at the time. It was like, because it was 10 metal models. It was like 40 pounds or
my
50
gosh.
pounds. Whatever it was ridiculous at the time.
Oh, okay. Was
And
that
yeah.
third edition or second?
That was second.
Oh, wow. They were that expensive back then.
Yeah.
I've owned 2 sisters armies actually. I've sold them both.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I won one when I won an Ardboy semifinal in California,
Oh, okay.
and that was like a $2,000 army then. So I was like super
How many
stoked.
points was it?
2K.
Oh, okay.
So if you 2,500. They sent
Painted?
no.
Oh, okay.
They sent me like 6 boxes of Battle Sisters and 6 Rhinos and 9 Penitent Engines and like, I mean, it was like a whole box filled with shit.
Okay.
And then
Box of boxes.
right, and then I sold that because I got tired of it. And then I bought another one for
As they're back home, like crying, like knowing that, like, we paid this much in shipping just so you could have that shit.
They actually had to ship it twice. I felt kind of bad for them.
Wow. That must have been a bastard of a charge. Fuck 'em.
Yeah. And then I got another one secondhand, but I sold that. But man,
Oh, okay.
those things sell for so much money. Like when you want to get rid of them. When
like-
Blastic Sisters come out, those things are gonna like tank.
Oh,
Yeah,
I
you
So
know.
gotta
people
get
are
a-
happy with their
I'm in that
purchase.
like that back and forth. Like, do I paint up the ones I have or sell them now? Like,
You sell them now and then buy the plastic ones next year because like
Yeah.
right now your values at its highest and it's only going down.
right.
Actually, just kidding. Your values have now gone down as of today.
Yeah.
If you
Why?
have more than 3 of anything.
3
Outside of troops.
Yeah. Okay, that's true.
Yeah. So I mean you just take a bunch of Battle Sisters and transports.
Sure.
So do sisters have Razorbacks?
No, they have
Immolator.
immolators.
Yeah.
But are those a dedicated transport?
Probably.
I They might be fast attack.
I mean, I want to point out that this is why we don't talk about like sisters on the table. we had a new listener comment. It was like he listened to our Sisters of Battle episode.
Yeah.
And he commented. He was like, "Hey, I was really disappointed. I got to the end. You guys didn't talk about how they played on the table at all." And I'm like, dude, we barely know the fluff.
Yeah.
Let alone
Last time I
how
played
they
with them
work.
on the table was like 3rd edition.
So I actually got to play against them in ITC fairly recently.
Okay.
And I haven't played against them this edition, and they are really good. Like they have Celestine. Celestine, of course, has got a bunch of tricks. She's really powerful. But just the normal battle sisters with the Acts of Faith are really powerful. Like getting an extra shooting phase out of something, or being able to move again, and that kind of stuff. Super, super good. Yeah.
That's dope.
It is.
Super dope.
Super dope.
Nice. Oh, we also, even just yesterday, had a 12-hour paint challenge that we stole from a GW store that I totally forgot about.
Like all the painters and everything, just brought them over from the GW store.
Oh, yeah. Just completely
chains.
stole it, like break it.
You will paint here now,
We're
and we
kidding
will
around.
sell them.
Like, Ted, you cut down some, like, really actually super good boards so we didn't trash the
Oh,
tablecloth.
yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, for sure.
It worked out really well, actually.
good.
It was super, super good. But yeah, the whole idea was you bought a start collecting box and you had 12 hours to assemble and paint it.
God, I was really excited about like coming to an event at Tier 1. Like I was like all on board with that. I was like, I really don't need to buy any models. I really don't. Like I have a closet full of models, but I will do this anyway because I need to support. And then it was like, oh, we're going to go on a camping trip. Like, oh, fuck. God damn it.
It's like, fuck you, nature.
And then I had to cancel that because of like the 3D printed bathroom. Like, so it was like I canceled and canceled anyway.
But you got to put Kylo Ren in a scale toilet.
That's right. Worth it.
But no, it was super good. We had 20 people sign up, 18 people show.
Rad.
By the end of the night, we had 3 completed start collecting boxes.
That's dope.
I was not one.
No, really? It looked like I
Admittedly-
saw pictures. Like it looked as though you had stuff that was painted.
Oh yeah, no, I got through stuff. I just didn't finish.
Did anybody bring an airbrush?
We weren't allowed to.
No,
okay.
weren't allowed.
I was thinking about like setting up a table outside the door and like running an extension cord.
You should have just been like
Charge
airbrushing
people.
$5.
Yes, exactly.
Dude,
You want a sick fade? You want a nice sick fade? Just go and drop your shit right here. Old Greg will take care of that.
Or you want a wet
man.
blend? That's going to be another $5.
So what has Ted painted? Everybody's shit.
But no, like I said, it was a super good time. There was
Yeah.
about 12 of us around one table, like 6 of us around another table, and just like
Cool.
hanging out, assembling, painting.
man, a
swearing.
lot of shit talking.
lot of shit talking.
That's what it's about.
I was able to plastic glue a model to my finger.
I don't
How do
even
you
know
do
how
that?
that's possible.
It's plastic glue.
Right.
I know. But
What is your finger made out of?
Danny, you bore witness.
What is your goddamn diet?
I went like this.
Yeah.
I saw
and
it.
did not fall off.
Dude, it was weird.
Wow.
was-
John, you're actually a real doll.
I've
You're not a
never
human.
I've never seen its like.
So yeah, I managed to glue. It's like that's why I use plastic glue so it doesn't stick to my finger.
Yeah.
But yeah, I managed to assemble and paint an entire Nighthaunt box, which, considering some of that big model, is a pain in the ass. Oof. And Danny, you go through like the majority of a Dark Eldar start collecting.
Yeah. I was pretty happy with my progress. I got done with the Venom and the 3 Reaver jet bikes, and like the witches were probably 5 or 6 paint colors away from being done.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So
You were dissatisfied and threw them in the trash. Like, I couldn't finish on time.
no, I took them home and put them on my desk to languish for all eternity.
See,
Think about what they did.
Yeah.
that's like the real interesting start collecting challenge is you buy the set and anything you don't finish by the end of the night is just smashed in front of you with a hammer.
Oh,
That would be fucked.
I don't know if I could do that.
You're like, it's done. Your basing is done. It's done. The basing is black.
Oh, wow.
But yeah, I saw 2 of the 3 armies that finished. So my Low Age of Sigmar army was finished, but it was all spooky ghost green. The other army that was completely finished was a Necron army that was completely silver. And the other one was a Tau army that was also 1 or 2 colors.
Oh, my God.
So you got to game that system.
Yeah. So was there like a prize for people who completed?
No, it's
Just prestige.
Personal challenge?
just
Okay.
prestige. And like the store owner who put it on was super nice. She gave us all like the Citadel water cups. Like so
Oh,
everyone who
cool.
participated got like a little water jug. And she bought us pizza.
She did.
Nice.
Yeah, and it was super good. It was a fun time.
Yeah, it was good for us. It was good for the store. It was. I am really looking forward to the next time we do one of those.
Yeah, I was talking to the store owner about it. I was like, well, about probably about 4 months from now. Because I don't think that's something you can have like every
No.
month or even
Yeah.
heck 4 times a year. I think it's too much. Just because you missed the last one doesn't mean.
What?
Honestly, there has to be like a start collecting box I want out there too. Because
yeah.
like there's nothing. I
That
can
was
do
a
right
huge
now.
problem.
Yeah. Because I was like, because I'm really focusing on my Eldari for 40K. So I got to get back into playing more. But I'm like, there's nothing I need in that box. I already have like 20 of these. I have like 4 of these. So I'm like, all right.
Adult gamers with bank account problems.
Oh, man, 14-year-old me would be like, the fuck, man.
All of them.
But yeah, like I said, it was a really good atmosphere as well. And it was like everyone was super chill. Like people were giving each other advice and asking for help and kind of, and Ted, you've run like a ton of hobby nights. Like that's the best part about it.
Yeah, for sure.
Is like Gary, one of our local gamers.
Well, that and like have somebody like break your window. Like
Yeah.
that's pretty much on the top.
Yeah, we were far away from the glass, I
Okay,
think, for
that's
that
good.
reason. But yeah, when
You
the
look
local
concerned, Danny.
What happened?
Oh, it's one of the hobby nights. Like one of the guys was leaving, and like another one like ran to the garage door to say goodbye, and like he was just gonna like startle him and like bang on the door. And his
Oh.
fist went through the window. Yeah, it's still
Yikes.
cardboard right now.
Sophisticated home security system.
Yeah, a little bit.
But yeah, like I said, it was super fun. So yeah, Gary,
Cool.
one of our local players, like he was like, hey, look at Snake Run, like, and he did like just the metal spray and then like Agrax Earth Shade, and it looked really good.
Oh, right.
And I'm like,
Interesting.
oh hey man, you just put some gold on there, make it pop.
Okay.
Oh yeah, like just some stupid things like that. Like
Yeah.
I asked Danny, I'm like, hey man, like should I, because I have ghosts, so I don't want to do like blood, should I just do like ooze? And he's like, yeah, sure. And it was funny because like Danny, you're known as like kind of like a really good player of the game. I think 4 people were like, hey Danny. He's like, yeah. He's like, how should I build this vehicle? What gun should I give it?
Yeah, there was a little bit of that.
A little bit of gaming the system.
That's okay.
But yeah, no, like I said, good time was had by all. I met a couple people I hadn't really spent a lot of time with.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, and it was like super nice because there's some people like, oh man, I barely even got everything assembled. But hey man, you got an entire box assembled. And that's the important thing, is like celebrating everyone's progress, no matter what it is. We can't all have monocolored armies.
That's right.
Unless
So,
you're Necron.
Yeah. or spooky ghosts.
Yeah. I didn't want to point that out, but I'm glad you did.
I know what I am. Oh man. Well, yeah, we're gonna take a quick
Yeah.
break and we'll come on back and talk about something.
Gynecomastia is a myth, and so is gout. Ever met somebody with gout? I thought so. Why do we know much about these? Because we are soy. It is our job to know about your body. What we do know is, soy is a complete protein that can replace animal protein. It is a great dietary fiber, and can reduce your LDL and triglycerides. We also know that if you develop man boobs, it is not our fault. It is your dad's. Soy milk. It's not as bad as they say.
That was it. What do you want me to stop?
No, that's fine. No.
It's dangerous when that happens.
It is. So we are back for after a completely real break.
So I was holding on to a desire this entire time.
And this is why me and Danny are both sitting down facing you.
Yeah. What is your desire, Ted? Tell me about your desire.
Never turn your back to Ted.
I dropped my contact lens in your pants. But it was the FAQ. It was the FAQ. Like, I think up until like we started recording, we kept wanting to talk about the FAQ, and I kept
Yeah, we had to stop ourselves.
yeah.
Yeah, it's so exciting.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Like it's a completely different game. Like to me, like the FAQ for today was like the difference between 6th edition and 7th edition.
You think so?
Yeah.
It's like 8.25 at least, and I'd only want to give it a 0.25 because like there can be more changes.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So man, like so good. I was literally listening to the live broadcast in my car going to work this morning, and I was cheering when like they would say things that they were
Wow.
doing. I was so happy.
I had
So some of the things that they were responding to, like things that had happened at like LVO and at Adepticon, right? And like people's like concerns and comments, right?
Sure. Well, in addition to like all the events in the UK and Europe as well.
Okay.
and as well as they
They
have
don't
like
really
a
count.
and they have a general. Well, yeah. What have the English ever given us? But there's also a regular
it's
email
Portuguese.
address, like I think it's GW 40K FAQs at gamesworkshop.com, where you
Okay.
email your questions
Oh,
and concerns and things like that. So I built off of that as well. Because like as much as GW is now like being like a bigger part of the community. They're also doing a really good of just not being like solo competitive, like and purely listening to competitive play and how that is. I mean, like even when you listen to Pete Foley talking about it today, or like the guys talking about it today, there was like tiny bits of shade at like purely competitive play in there. So like I said, I don't think that like solely informed it. I think it's super good at showing what gets broken quickly.
Okay. So what was some of the all right. So how should we start this? Should we talk about what has changed, or should we talk about like
I think
how he delivered it?
I think going through them as far as like going through beta rules that became actual rules now, and then going into like maybe talking about some of the big game changing rules.
Yeah.
Okay.
So is that okay?
Let's talk about.
So the interesting thing is like we have changes, and then we have beta changes, right? So we have some things that are like, this is on the table, you should try this, right?
Right.
Is that what you're talking about?
Yep. So, like, for instance, maybe, what was that, maybe 6 months ago, they put in the beta smite and the beta character targeting rules.
Okay.
So, beta smite was that you got a -1 to cast smite every time after the first that you attempted to cast it.
Okay.
So, now they've changed it to increase the warp charge difficulty by 1 instead. And they've exempted certain units from different codexes from getting the positive changes to the warp charge.
It was originally brought about because Smite was spammed horribly.
Yeah.
So like in the first like few months of 8th edition, you would
Malefic
get
Lords.
like Malefic Lords, which by themselves weren't bad, but when you had like 20 of them, or like even 10 of them, like each casting Smite, then it was too much because there's a very little you could do to kind of counter that. So they went like hard with that beta rule where they're like, hey, it's -1 to cast every time. So like after like 6 or 7 smites, you just couldn't cast it anymore.
Sure.
Okay.
Armies like Grey Knights.
Except for I think 2 armies, right? There's 2 armies that was it Eldari and Thousand Sun?
No, it was Grey Knights and Thousand Suns, but even then they were still at the -1 as well in those beta rules.
I gotcha.
So they were still
So
penalized.
they got fucked over hard on that because that's their gig. Grey Knights, you're like a small elite army, so you should be able to spam smite a little bit because that's all you got.
Sure. And their smite is weaker than a normal smite as well.
Yeah. So they kind of pull back a little bit on it from taking it from like beta to alpha, where now you always succeed in an 11 or 12 no matter what.
Well, so the thing that changed the most to me, like, well, there's 2 changes obviously, like the exemptions for Grey Knights and Thousand Suns, which is huge for those armies. In addition, when you get the -1 to cast, it prevented you from doing super smites. So you could never, after the second time you cast it, you could never get a super smite again unless you had a bonus to cast. Now, since they just increased the difficulty, as long as you rolled the 11 or 12, you could always get the D6 damage super smite.
Oh shit.
Which is awesome. Like, that's great.
Because it's never in like the real world like, oh my god, that guy smited that dude so hard that I could never do it like that. Like the third psyker really getting in his own head and be like, oh shit, I can't do this, man. He's just so good.
He's just so much better than me.
His smite is so much bigger than
Like
mine.
Tigurius, like self-conscious
Smite
Tigurius.
Yeah. Is he cut?
But yeah, so that I think that's a great change.
Yeah.
And I think that really, like I said, it helps out your smaller elite armies, like your Thousand Suns, your Grey Knights, who kind of need that crutch of smite to work really well.
Sure.
But also kind of punishes you for just taking 75 things to smite the shit out of stuff.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I'm glad that they toned it down super hard and then walked it back a little bit. I think that was a good compromise. And then the other change, or the other beta rule that became normal is the character targeting rule. And I don't believe that they changed anything about this particular rule from its beta version, which is great because the change made it so that you can't shoot at a character unless it's the closest model to you. And it doesn't have to necessarily, like if there are other models that are closer but not visible, because that's the way it is. That's the way it originally was in the rulebook. And so what people were doing were blocking the closer units from line of sight with like rhinos and stuff like that, so they could snipe the characters with like las cannons and that kind of thing. Okay. Yeah, so because technically by the rules, that's how it worked. Okay. And then they encountered the issue where people were shielding their characters with like Eversource or with Colexus assassins because you only hit them on 6s, and so if they were the closest thing, you could only hit everything on 6s, so you could like shield your whole army of characters.
Yeah.
With assassins.
That's an expensive shield, though. If you're going to actually spend that to do that,
but it's worth it.
Like,
but if you run like 6 Colexus assassins,
That's a lot of points.
Not that many.
No, it's like six. It's less than 600. They're like what 85, 90 points.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah. And so they'd have like Guilliman and a bunch of other combat characters
have, like,
hanging behind them.
6 of them, then that's at least 6 units that have to shoot at those models.
Okay.
And it's just it was pretty gross.
It's pretty dumb. So so basically, you can ignore other characters for determining which unit is the closest.
Okay.
As long as they have 9 or less wounds on their profile.
Did they bump it up to 20, or what was the? I thought there was something about 20.
No,
wounds.
it was 10 or more.
Yeah, 10 or
okay.
yeah. So 10 or more wound characters.
Okay.
You have to shoot at them first because they're like a big monster usually kind of target.
Okay.
Because you're all scared of them. Shit.
Yeah, I would be.
Yeah. Yeah. And then that was
I
that
did
was
the
pretty
math, and that guy has 10 wounds. I'm going to shoot at him.
well, I think it's more like, oh man, it's Review Gilliman. Oh no. Oh shit, it's a hive tyrant.
Exactly.
Yeah. But that was pretty much it for the old beta rules. They just
Yeah,
kind of
yeah,
introduced
that's
those two.
Yep.
And the new ones they did a lot of work there, right?
Ooh. Yeah.
No more Imperial or Chaos Soup.
Sort of.
Well, yeah. So they did a good compromise there, I think. You can't combine them within one detachment. So you can't have a detachment that is like just chaos, so it like mixes codexes. But you can have like an Imperium army and still have it be battle forged. So you can have like a guard detachment, a Space Marine detachment, and like a Custodes detachment or something like that, or detachment. That's fine.
Okay.
Which is good because it allows it takes away some stupid combos.
Yeah. But it still lets people play with their army. They just have to rejig it a little bit.
And they can still have allies, which is cool.
That's something that's like super cool about the FAQ is that generally they've fixed a lot of issues without banning or getting rid of anything. Whereas I've seen other things be like, this like some magic stuff, like, oh yeah, this card is banned, or or like this thing is, or even the Ultramar tournaments that we run. It's like this detachment is banned. There's none of that, and it's a lot of what came out today fixes like 85% of the current problems.
Oh, what was it? The double dip on Feel No Pains? Getting rid of that.
Yep, they got rid of that, which is fine.
And I didn't realize that was even a thing until like that game with Nick. This is like also like thinking differently when you have like new people. He's like, this rule. Like, wow, you get multiple Feel No Pains? Holy shit. All
sure.
Right. Yeah. Start rolling dice. Here's your save. Nope. Here's your
So 4-up,
Mad
nope.
Dog.
Feel No Pain, nope. Robotic Body, nope. Savior of the Emperor, nope. And you're like, fuck, just don't even worry about the wound.
How did that orc have Savior of the Empire? Oh, whatever.
Don't worry about it.
Just roll it.
Well, like Iron Hands Dreadnought is a good example, and that hits close to home, right? Like an Iron Hands Venerable Dreadnought.
Okay.
Because like the Iron Hands get a 6 of Feel No Pain.
Yeah.
And then the Venerable Dreadnought has a 6 of Feel No Pain.
Oh, right.
So you could kind of double dip there pretty easily.
Okay.
But not anymore.
And that was, I think,
sorry,
like
Ted.
where see, like I was still stuck in my 7th edition mindset. So when I was playing with the Venerable Dreadnought, it was like, all right, we'll just use that 5+.
No shit, it's immobilized.
Yeah, good times.
The other kind of so some of the big changes, if we move on a little there, to some of the completely game-changing changes. Something the 8th edition 40k has been so far has been, I would need to either minimize my drops so I go first, or have a better chance of going first, because that Alpha Strike has been almost game-changing.
That got the big nerf stick.
And it, I mean, I wouldn't say, nerf is such a strong word. It got taken out of the toolbox, I would say, more than anything else.
Yeah.
Nerf implies that,
I think they exchanged an Alpha Strike for a Beta Strike.
Oh, okay.
Right? Like, well, and specifically, I think they took out like a close combat Alpha Strike and replace that with a Beta Strike, because I still think you can get like a shooty Alpha Strike, but you just have to deploy stuff on the table.
Like for me, reading the rule, and the new rule is...
Sorry, we didn't even talk about that.
Yeah, the rule is anything starting the table in reserves. Well, first off, I think they're using PowerPoints now, and at least half of your PowerPoints have to start on the table.
Yeah, it's drops and PowerPoints discounting units and vehicles, which I'm glad they clarified, because has been a sticking point for some people.
If they come out of reserve turn 1, you must deploy them in your deployment zone.
Okay.
Which is huge.
Right.
That is a massive
So
change.
you can Alpha Strike your own guys.
Well, it
Like, ha! Harold just shot you in the back, motherfucker.
Well, what it does is before, like, I would take like units of Rangers from my other to place out in the field. Space Marine players would take scouts to kind of start blocking off parts of the table so you couldn't Alpha Strike down and like charge and kill and stuff. that takes away kind of the need to do that a little bit.
So that still exists. You're fine with the Rangers.
Oh, yeah.
Because the Rangers happened before the game starts, and they didn't get rid of that stuff.
Yeah.
Okay.
But
Sorry.
I'm saying, but you would take those units
Oh,
to
yeah.
start blocking
The
off the
screening.
board to
Right.
screen so you couldn't be alpha struck like that.
Okay.
What it says to me now, like so turn 1, you have to deep strike or come in from reserve in your own deployment zone. Turn 2 is normal. It's just like it is just now. You can come down anywhere. For me now, like my reserves, that is almost for protecting my stuff.
Yes.
So for example, my Eldari army, like I will definitely keep a couple of my tanks out in the air because it's got to, stay in reserve.
Okay.
Like I can guarantee this won't be killed before I can shoot it. And kind of that's really for me what reserve is now. Like I said, there's still a couple like funky interactions that kind of break it, but honestly, like I think like Alpha Strike Assault is pretty gone.
Yeah. I mean, you can still. So, I've some of the Blood Angels players and stuff like that locally have been talking about it. Like, oh yeah, well, it's not gonna affect me much. But I think that honestly, it does affect them quite a bit. Like, even though they may not have dropped their guys down by turn 2, it gives the other person a chance to push out of their deployment zone. And if they've already have forward advancing models, like they can push out even further. So if they don't have anything to block those guys, you can really push them back into their own deployment zone already. So, I mean, that really hurts those kinds of armies.
Because if they don't come down on turn 3, they're dead.
Yeah.
So you can't really drop them turn 1. You drop them turn 2, but if you just fill the board, then that really reduces where you can go. So you start, I don't know, it really affects how that plays.
Yeah.
There's an ice cream truck out front.
I heard that.
It's
Very excited. Oh, it's gone.
That's bizarre. It's because fuck that it's halfway through April. There's still snow on the ground.
Dude,
And I
people
don't
in
have an
Alaska
ice
like
cream.
ice cream.
It's true.
I
That's
don't
a
have an
really
ice
good
cream
point.
cone. Sad.
It's really disappointing.
Oh, speaking of Alaska things, though, to derail us like a little bit, there's a HBO show called Last Week Tonight.
Okay.
They bought Russell Crowe's jockstrap from the movie, whichever one he was a boxer.
Oh.
And they're sending it
Gross.
to the last blockbuster in Anchorage on DeBar Road. Really? They spent like $70,000 to $100,000 on random Russell Crowe shit he was auctioning off, and they're sending it to the last blockbuster in Anchorage.
Wow. We're down to just one
Why?
To encourage people to go.
Oh, okay.
That's cool.
That's a random weird publicity stunt for his HBO show.
Every time I drive by there's like a ton of people outside that blockbuster. We're such a strange place, and they're not even selling porn. Like I think all the other video stores, like that's how they porn
That's
in
how
blankets.
they survive. Because people
and
haven't heard of-
blankets.
You saw that?
Oh,
Like,
yeah. No, now
Video
you're
City
talking about.
and
Yeah.
It's because
Fancy.
people haven't heard of the internet. But yeah, back to the FAQs. That's my bad. But yeah, that's a major rule, and I think that's what pushes it into like 8.5 edition. Is because it completely changes the way a lot of people play the game.
What was the spam? There's a spam fix too.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so this is the other big change I think really that pushes it forward is the rule of 3. So kind of like in Age of Sigmar where they've decided they're going to have some specific rules that kind of govern the game. This is one that seems like it's going to be
Expanded on.
Big change. So unless a unit is a troops choice or a dedicated transport, you can only have 3 copies of a particular data sheet in a normal 2,000 point game.
And this crosses over detachments too, right? Because
Yes.
I think they also changed that to where it's only one of each type, right?
No,
no,
the
they
detachments are still the same.
Yeah.
So you could have as many HQ detachments as you want.
Yeah, but
Yeah, if you want to run those.
Oh, okay. So, but anyway, go back.
But you can only have like 3 of one HQ choice. So
Only 3 Malefic
if we
Lords.
look at the
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, and we look at like kind of the big things coming out of Adepticon in the competitive scene there, were like spammed flyrant lists of like 6 to 8 flyrants.
Yep, that sounds about right.
Holy hell.
No more. They can only have 3 max. Doesn't matter how many detachments. And shield captains on bikes max out at 3 now too.
Yep.
And it's like
Although 3 shield captains, that's 2,000
it's
points.
still real. Yeah, give or take 1,400. Yeah. but it really. I mean, it doesn't, and this is what I was really impressed with how they handled that issue. Is it doesn't make me rage. As someone who owns like six flyrants, like it doesn't make me go, well, fuck, my army's completely screwed.
Yeah.
Like they didn't increase the points of it. Well, they did a little for the flyrants, but for the most part, they didn't increase points. They didn't increase points of weapons. They didn't try and kind of do anything else apart from, hey, you're limited to 3.
Sure.
And that's, I mean, it's a really good way to handle it. I mean, I was thinking today, I was like, well, shit, Imperial Knight players are screwed, but they're not. Because the Onagers, they're units of 1 and 2.
Sure.
And at 2,000 points, there's really, not that many knights in there that you can have. And it's not like you're spamming the same one over and over because...
Yeah, you have a bunch of different
models.
options, and you don't want to run the same knight over and over again.
So, like I said, it's a really elegant fix to a difficult problem.
Yeah, I'm pretty happy with it. I sold some Plague Crawlers today.
Oh wow!
Yeah,
How many did you have?
6.
Okay.
I wonder how many you have now.
3.
3.
I have 3 left.
Oh, wow.
I'm gonna keep them in reserve just in case.
That's crazy. You know, I was really excited not to see
What's that?
points adjustments for orcs.
Yeah. And we were talking about this. And
That's exciting because that means their codex is coming soon.
I think June,
Yeah.
I think is like what you were saying, kind of what we're hearing for orcs there. I think it's going to be a huge release too.
That's what I've heard.
Yeah,
To get off track a little bit.
Yeah.
I'm very excited for it.
yeah, that'll be cool.
The orcs only got like one adjustment, I think, in the FAQs, and that was just like, I think it was a terminology adjustment.
Yeah, but like I swear before that it wasn't like units within 6 inches got the.
It was something next to them. I definitely like, because I had that issue come up, and I was like, fuck no, you're insane. That's not what it
So-
says. And then we looked it up, but it might have been like 9 inches or something like that. And they changed it to 6 or something.
Previously, it was a 6-inch bubble that you could use a unit's leadership characteristic.
Oh,
But I don't know if it modified your leadership characteristic based on the number of models.
It did, and that because I think it said that your leadership characteristic is based on how many models are in the unit. So if the unit next to you was 30, then their leadership was 30. It specifically said it changes their leadership characteristic.
Okay, cool. Yeah, So they may have just worded it a little bit differently so that it
cleared it up a little,
yeah.
clarified it. Because like they said, the way I read it before was, I can use leadership 7 over here. What do
Yeah,
you fucking do?
when I have 28 guys.
Maybe your war boss or whatever, I guess.
Yeah. But I mean, it was super helpful, like especially for mech guns and things like that, keeping them like super happy and chill at the back. But yeah, so rule of 3 is amazing. Some of the wording clarifications are good.
Some good point adjustments.
Some really good point adjustments. Fire raptors are now appropriately pointed.
Yeah, I'm pretty happy about that.
I didn't look at the Forge World adjustments.
Yeah.
So all the adjustments are fit on one page, and they're very there's very minimal.
They're very minimal. Warlocks went up 20 points.
Yeah.
Which hurts me, but is very fair and accurate.
I understand why. The warlock powers are really good.
Really good.
Yeah.
So they went up. Commissars went down.
Yeah, by a huge amount.
So
Like
50
100%, I think. Like, because the normal
So we're
commissars.
down 100%?
Yeah.
Yeah,
They're
they're
free?
no commissars are no. I mean like 50% off.
Okay.
Like right. So like a normal commissar is 15 points and the Lord Commissar is 30, whereas the Lord Commissar was like 50 points before.
Oh shit.
So, and I think the regular Commissar was 30 points.
Yeah. But yeah, it's down to like 15 points for regular Commissar and like 30 for a Lord Commissar.
And
which is an HQ choice. Now it makes me actually want to take him because he's the same points as a company commander.
Yeah, right. Well, and they fact his summary execution rule to where you don't have to do it if you don't want to.
Oh, cool.
Because it used to be that he would you had to cap a guy, and then they got to reroll the test. But now you can choose not to if you just want to lose the models, because you know that you're probably not going to roll any better than that.
Yeah.
Oh,
which is like a really nice clarification.
So instead of like forcing you to like shoot all your guys,
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
Shoot my guys to reroll the test
This is gonna
anyway,
be a
and I'll just
while.
lose an extra guy basically every time.
The other things that went in there was a couple of like clarifications and kind of for chaos, kind of making them in line with their Imperium stuff, like the Hellforged Spartan now doesn't have a penalty for moving and firing.
Yep.
Oh, cool.
And like I said, and then a lot of just like little wording clarifications more than anything else.
I was pretty sad about my feculent Gnarlmaw going up by 35 points.
Nah, it's fine.
But that tree was really good.
What was it before points wise?
50.
Ooh, it's 85 now.
It's 85 points.
Ooh. Man, how synergistic.
I
Use the
still
It's gonna
have
be
an
like
80.
Pee-wee's Playhouse where we all have to like synergy.
I still have an 85 point like in my competitive Nurgle list. I still have 85 points set aside for it because it's that good.
Well, and it's like you helped me come up kind of with my Eldari list. I'm like, yeah, this is really good. And like I remember talking to you like the last day when I'm like finalizing it. I'm like, I need to cut points. And you're like, this is fine. So I cut points. Or I cut a bite to get to the right points. I'm like, right on the nose at 2,000. But now I have like 2 Warlocks and a Farseer. So I'm like, now I'm over by 50 again.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh.
Options.
Yeah, options. But it's exciting. Like at no point am I like, huh. And like what I've noticed is a lot of people saying like that they don't really have to change their list. Or like I've seen like the major salt, I guess, saying is kind of people who were using some things as a crutch. Is what I would say. So like
a whole lot of Dark Reapers on eBay here in a little bit.
Right. Well, that's what I'm saying. It was like, I think a lot of it. None of this is autopilot.
Yeah.
There's always going to be some skill involved, but I think a lot of the spam was like kind of a crutch where you find one thing that works and you just do it. So this is going to encourage more varied armies, and kind of like I said, what I'm going to see across the table is going to be different.
Oh. Yeah, so speaking of more varied armies, I think this is going to promote a lot more brigade detachments, actually.
Oh, yeah.
And so,
dude, that was so smooth.
Yeah, and so speaking of brigades and battalions, they upped the command points that you get for taking one of those.
That's amazing.
Which is great because...
was doubled for battalion brigades.
So battalion went from 3 to 5.
Oh, okay.
And brigade went from 9 to 12.
Nice.
So like a nice little 2 and 3 point command bump for those.
I think my favorite thing about it was they were pointing out that some armies have some really neat stratagems and they can't use them because they can't fill all that stuff.
They're too expensive.
Then they use custodes as an example, and I'm like, show me a custodes battalion.
Yeah. That was hard enough to fit like it was 1850, like trying to come up with like a regular was a brigade or whatever to get the 3 points.
The battalion,
The battalion.
Yeah. So I don't know. I have a custodes battalion in my custodes list that I made.
How many 1-man units?
But that's about all you get.
They're not 1-man, they're 3-man units.
Okay. All right.
But like if you think about those guys, like 3 guys is still the same number of wounds as a tactical squad.
Yeah.
So like even though it's only 3 models,
like that was an odd.
Man.
Like, I used to hate elites up until like that came out and like they did it right.
They feel powerful. Like all of them feel like little heroes,
Yeah.
and they are.
My little hero.
heroes.
My little heroes.
so
My little purple helmet warrior.
Pinch their little cheeks.
Yeah. I would say your name, but it'd take forever.
Yeah, right.
Don't worry, Steve. I'll say your name.
Yeah.
Like the biggest insult.
They have like a ribbon that you can pull out of the base that's like on a retractor, so you can read their name out for each one of them.
Oh, that'd be great.
Yeah, that'd be the best.
Oh. I should have like the little pull string, like the Woody doll, where he says his name. Like, Calvin cleaned the toilets well, got an extra Twix out of the vending machine. Like, does really good at spiking in volleyball. Calv.
Points wise, Gulliman went up again.
Yeah,
he's now at a good point level, I think, for what he does.
Oh wow.
Yeah, he went up to 400, right?
400.
Yeah.
So he's up 15 points from chapter approved.
Which was up which before that was 25 points. So now he's gotten up to 40 points total.
Yeah.
So that's good.
Oh.
Yeah. But like I said, I'm really excited to see the first few sets of games coming back. In fact, more than that, I'm excited to see the army lists that come out from this. And kind of where people are. That was my chair squeaking.
I think it was Alexa ordering new stuff.
Oh, that's but I'm really excited to again see where the army lists are coming from.
Yeah, I'm too.
Like I said, it's like before I was like, oh, I'm going to try and squeeze this into brigade, and now I'm just like, I really need to squeeze this into brigade. Like army list wise, kind of because 12 command points is huge.
And yeah, speaking of someone who's been running brigades like quite a bit with Tyranids and then Eldar, like the variety of units that you get make it so much more fun.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and like I said, it was a difficult balance because you had people calling for the heads of like bike captains, calling for flyrants, and like calling for all of this stuff to happen.
Yeah.
But it's like a difficult position where like, how do we not make people feel like their purchases are invalidated,
Right.
or like have to completely change what they're running, and oh, you just want me to go buy $8,000 worth of models, with doing it. And I think like they did a really good job of fixing a lot of the problems. Like I think the only thing I read is on one of the other local sites, one of the guys was like, oh, well, my Mawlock's useless now because like this interaction and this interaction. And I'm like, dude, if the only thing that happens out of fixing 2,000 small issues with 8th edition is that one guy isn't as good anymore, I'll take that. Like night and day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry.
And because it's a Mawlock, I just now have 3 Trigons.
I still think they're really good.
They are.
Yeah.
But again, it's been at this point about 12 hours, 13 hours.
Roughly. Yeah.
So there's a lot of knee jerk. And
Sure.
a lot of, like I said, over the next couple of weeks, it's going to be really interesting to see kind of the real playtesting feedback. I know our local community has adopted all of the beta rules and all of the rules. So, like it's a really positive thing.
I'm really excited that, so this is a big change for us, especially here locally, in that before we would give rules that GW released a good month, if they were core game change rules before we decided to implement them in tournaments.
Yeah.
But now it's same day. It's okay, yeah, we're definitely going to use this stuff and that kind of shows a change in the mindset of Games Workshop, in that they're really listening to their community and they're really putting a lot of time and effort into these rules, and it shows so much. So I have never been happier with the game right now.
Well, and it's someone was really sarcastic because this FAQ was due sometime in March.
Oh, okay.
Which is when they originally said it was, and then they came in and said, "Hey, it's going to be late because there's some other stuff we need to take care of."
Okay.
And it's to be able to not stick to a timeline to fix issues. Instead of having big FAQ and then 2 weeks later mini FAQ based on the big FAQ.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
It's super
Stack
good.
of FAQs.
Yeah.
But I think it was all common sense stuff that people were really adamant about. I don't think I saw too many things in there that were just caught me off guard. It's well, no shit. You shouldn't have 2 feel no pain rolls. No shit. You shouldn't be able to spam.
A lot of it just kind of
people have been complaining about that for a while.
A lot of it reiterates, I think, the intent of the game.
Yeah.
The only thing that didn't was the deep strike or the coming in from reserves.
Yeah,
that took me totally by surprise.
Yeah, I was definitely not. I don't know about you guys, but I've been hearing rumors about the rule of 3 thing now for maybe 2 weeks. Or
I've been hearing it from
2.5
for
weeks.
a week.
You should listen to Danny more.
I was so I heard this thing. This might be a thing that happens, and I was all right. I'm optimistic about it because I think, in addition to cutting down spam competitively, it makes the armies look more like the armies would in the background maybe, and maybe not so hyper focused on one aspect, and it does take away some of the creativity that people can have if they really wanted to have one particular unit. It does make armies more fun to play against because there's going to be some variety there, which is cool. Because you want to see more units on the table, different units on the table.
It's not like if you pull up and you're like, "Hey, what do you play?" "Oh, Eldar." I'm like, "Okay, so you have 18 Dark Reapers, 30 Dark Reapers." And being able to guess a list before he even takes it out of the case.
Sure. I think in a way, it kind of brings us back, to 3rd edition or whatever, where there was 0 to 3 on your list, 0 to 1, so.
Some restrictions.
Yeah.
And there was just the one detachment type, right? And it was just you have to have these.
Here's your Force Org. That's it.
Yeah, your Force Org.
Bam.
That's all you get. Don't fill it up too fast.
Yeah.
That's right.
Don't spend all your slots in one place.
But what about percentages?
No, we're not playing second.
Well, let's take a quick break and get into Inquisition.
Cowabunga, dude! Shredding these sweet waves with my board is super rad. But babes can't stand a thirsty bro, brah. That's why I drink generic soda, now with electrolytes. Chicks dig it. Generic soda causes heart disease, lung disease, pancreatic cancer, Alzheimer's, erectile dysfunction, and is the leading cause of thirst. Generic soda may dissolve solid surfaces if contact persists longer than 3 seconds. The Food and Drug Administration does not recognize generic soda as edible. Do not dispose of generic soda down drains or near animals.
You guys want to take an actual break, or?
Yeah.
Okay.
Real life.
Well, I do enough of that.
Be salty in real life?
I guess I'm not salty, but just,
Yeah.
somebody who's wrong on the internet, now just do it in their face. And
There's so many times, and I've been told off by people who've been you need to keep a good public outlook. And be more positive online. Where 90% of the time,
Really?
I just want to post a GIF of some dude just that GIF of the guy just spreading salt everywhere,
Yeah.
and that's more. I want that to be my reply for 90% of stuff.
See, I would have figured that I would have got that before you got that, and I haven't got that yet.
Because I'm intrinsically tied visually to
okay.
a lot of local events and things that need to succeed to keep happening. I can't be an outright asshole.
Okay.
So I just bitched to other people. Oh yeah.
So Inquisition.
Oh, they're so good.
Yeah.
A little less good based on the new FAQ.
Oh.
But
Yeah.
They suffer a little bit. I mean, and I know we're gonna go into like the fun history and everything.
Yeah.
But
we already talked about game stuff. This is the dick joke part.
I'm sorry. Well, Inquisitor
Dick joke.
penis testicle.
colada.
Penis colada. Dude, I'm so stealing that for before, like, I would like put them and sprinkle them in like other detachments, like to fill out an HQ slot or something like that there.
Sure.
Whereas now the only real way to take them is as part of a Vanguard detachment.
Yep.
Based on like in the index what they have. So you would have it like your Inquisition HQ and then 3 acolytes.
Sure.
Which would fill out. Sure, you get your command point, and it's only like less than 60 points for that detachment. But then you have 3 one-man units, which means.
Oh yeah, we talked about that.
Yeah. It's not great.
Are acolytes 1-man units?
Yeah.
1+.
Oh, okay. So you can have more though.
You can have more.
Yeah.
Okay.
But they're not great. So.
Okay. Yeah.
Well, wasn't that? Are they characters or are they just
Nope.
1 man unit? Oh, okay, so that wasn't like a shield to, like, buffer.
Which even So I mean, they got nerfed a little bit today. Not huge amounts.
Yeah. They got beta striked.
beta strikes.
Okay.
Speaking of betas, I love the idea of the Inquisition.
I was wondering where you're going with that. Betas.
I really do, and like
Yeah.
there was a quote in Dark Imperium,
Yeah.
right, or in the new the book that came out the same time 8th edition did, where I think Gulliman said there was like, if the Emperor got off his throne, the Inquisition would arrest him for heresy or have him put down for heresy.
Shit. Oh, that makes
They're like the silent police of 40K.
Yeah. They're the Gestapo.
Yeah.
They are the most British thing in the 40K lore, I think, at all. Like, just like the amount of like sub units and bureaucracy that's not like efficient, and like redundancies and strange back and forths. And,
Oh, dude, it's hyper efficient. It's like Judge Dredd in 40K. They are the law.
When you have unlimited authority.
Yeah. But I think like in some ways, like on a micro level, yeah. On a macro level, no. Like,
It gets really confusing when like 3 separate Inquisitors show up at one scene.
Yeah.
For 3 different reasons, trying to figure out who the fuck's in charge, and that's
Yeah,
how
who
we
has
usually end up with
jurisdiction.
2 dead Inquisitors.
and all they're doing is like that. Oh no, sir. I'm sorry, sir. Did you drop that? I'm sorry, sir. Like these passive aggressive statements. Everybody else is like, what the fuck is going on? Well, the entire time there's like a power struggle going on between 3 different factions as they like
Right.
have a shadow war.
as Penis Colada is just like, excuse you, I think you'll find this is my scene. But I think my favorite thing about them is they kind of just like the best ones anyway. They just kind of roam.
Yeah.
You know, they're
On a
not.
steel horse they ride.
Yeah, like they take their little
Wanted, dead or alive.
Yeah,
Inquisitor.
keep going.
Jovi Bond.
Spaceship, all right. That's terrible. But no,
amazing.
they just like follow like heresy around, and
Yeah.
that's their
Or
entire
whatever.
job. Is like is just kind of flying around searching for signs of heresy, and what counts as heresy changes on a day-to-day basis.
So I think like with so many other things, like it was, I think like we've covered the Inquisition in various different ways,
Yeah.
but never actually covered the Inquisition.
We talked
Like
about
everything
that,
we
yeah.
talk about, it's so ubiquitous, where it's like it's everywhere. It permeates into everything. I mean, you can't talk about Eldar without somehow like Ordo Xenos involved or whatever. I mean, we didn't talk about them on our Eldar, but anyway.
But no, like you were talking about it, we
everywhere.
were like, hey, what are we going to talk about this time? And you're like, hey, should we do the Inquisition? And I'm like, I'm pretty sure we've already done that. And I'm like, no, they just kind of like, they pick up everywhere.
Van Dyer, when we talked about Van Dyer, he was there. We talked about Sisters, they were there. Like everything is.
But like you talk about Eldar and you want to talk about the Inquisitor that went to the Black Library, right?
Yeah.
Like Sezvak or whatever. Like
Yeah.
because the other guy who's Airman is after. I think they wrote a book about that, didn't they?
Yeah,
Probably.
Yeah. Like the only human who's been allowed pretty much in the Black Library.
Oh, that's right. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think like also
They wouldn't give him a card.
where the
You got a guest pass.
He didn't have 2 proofs of his home address.
unless you have a library card, you can't use the bathroom here. Please move.
He had to have one of the Harlequins sign in for him.
That's what it would be like.
This is my dad.
Do you have a utility bill?
So the background is kind of neat. Like I was kind of thinking about this, like with so many things in 40K, it's the well, the background is murky, like and so it could be anything. And
forge your narrative.
Forge your narrative. And like part of me is almost like that's so convenient and cliche, but the more I think about it, it's like, no, that's so like rad. Like, and this is definitely one of those things where the secret organization has a super secret background, and it could. Here's two possible options for their.
It would be really disappointing if they were like, "This is our super secret organization called the Inquisition. Here's our pamphlet explaining exactly how we were founded and when."
Right.
Hare Krishna, those guys.
An offshoot of Scientology, the Inquisition.
I definitely like the shades of gray that the Inquisition provides, right? Because you have all these different sub factions, and there's the intrigue in between those, and then like between the different ordos too, like who has jurisdiction on this particular, like in this particular case, or whatever else. It's super awesome. Like,
and that's where it's like the passive aggressive statements on the crime scene between three different ordos.
Right.
No,
right.
sir. I'm sorry.
Well,
nope. There's an Eldar fingernail here, so Ordo Xenos takes precedence.
I
but
love
it's
them.
a demon.
Yeah. I love them as like just a narrative device. I mean, like if you look at it, like why is this Imperial army fighting this Imperial army? And you're like, oh well, this Imperial army is under the command of an Inquisitor, and he has power, and they said no. And like that's all you need, because that's like perfect thematically correct right there. And like it is not just like, oh yeah, just it's training exercise.
So they originally came from like there's multiple different stories, and I think there's like two that are kind of like strong possibilities. And actually between the two, there's like one string that kind of goes through them. But like one of them was that the Emperor asked Malkador to start like this brand of inquisitive folk who like to ask questions.
And he comes back 10,000 years later. No, man, that's not what I meant.
I wanted a band of bike riders that harassed women at truck stops.
It's like, I found a Hardy Boys novel. I wanted you to do that in the future.
But not like this.
So part of it was Malkador goes and grabs like 12 people, 8 Astartes, and then 4 humans. Which I thought was kind of neat that like Astartes were Inquisitors, but then later on, as they started to explain that, it made sense, which was Grey Knights.
Right.
At first, they're like, man, you can have an Inquisitor. That's it. So yeah, it was kind of interesting. Is like when they described it, it was like, all right, you have these 8 Astartes. They were all from traitor legions.
Well, not all of them.
Well, that's how they described it. It was like they originally described it as all from traitor legions, but you're right. But they were like people who had stayed loyal.
Sure, okay.
But the one that was, I think, like of the 8, the one that I found that wasn't a traitor, quote unquote, was a dark angel.
So traitor.
Yeah, but he was from Luther, so I think that was kind of like the wiggle room. Yeah.
So loyal.
Yeah.
Well, debatable.
But you had like one guy, well, Nathaniel Garrow, of course, from the Death Guard. You had Revuel Arvida of the Thousand Sons, which is Janus. And that one had like kind of interesting backstory.
Is she like the secretary?
No.
He.
I just heard Janus.
Yeah, well,
Imagining the chick from Ghostbusters at this point in power armor.
so that Janus is the leader of the Grey Knights.
Her name was Janus?
I don't think
What's
so. But
Okay.
that's just my head.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Ted. You were.
Yeah. So Janus was of the Thousand Sons, and I think like Avita, and I think like it got like augmented by the warp or whatever, and like it rebuilt his visage, and then they were like, all right, well, we're just gonna sweep you under the rug, and then we're gonna turn you into like the leader of the Grey Knights. You no longer look like the Thousand Sons you once were.
Just don't take off your helmet.
You'd fake a vibrato. And you had a Condon Cruz of the Lunar Wolves, and that was the captain to Horus. But he was like before Horus, so I guess like he'd run the like.
Oh, so he was with the Legion before.
Yeah.
Before Horus was found.
Yeah, Iacton or whatever his name was. Was that?
Oh yeah,
That might be it.
Iacton. Yeah, he was in the first few books.
Yeah.
He was like the really old guy who got cast aside. Yeah.
Yeah, he's super salty.
Yeah.
And then, but he was like, I think everybody kind of like Horus resented him because he represented like the old way.
Right.
Because he was Terran, I believe.
He was.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And then Horus wanted his legion to be pure from his world.
Well, yeah, he wanted them all to look like the sons of Horus, look like him, because he liked the guys that looked like him the best.
Yeah.
You gotta do this thing with your eyebrows. You gotta manicure them a little bit. You gotta get them
Gotta shave your head entirely.
It's not gay if it's for the guy who looks exactly like you.
God, you got
It's the biggest narcissist.
there was Epimetheus, and that was the Dark Angel guy. Let's see,
Penis colada.
and Chiron.
Ran.
I don't know.
False.
I couldn't find anything about like Chiron or whatever. And then there were humans. There was Chiral Cinderman, who was the iterator for Horus.
Yep. Cinderman was one of the people who saw Horus's fall and then got kicked out.
Remembers her, right?
Yeah, remember, so they got kicked out.
I think there was another guy that was Remember Sir.
But yeah,
this guy was an iterator or whatever.
Yeah, they were.
Oh,
the
the
iterator,
iterator,
Mr. Rudder,
right,
and
yeah.
like they were on the Eisenstein when it got kicked out towards Terror with Garrow.
So then you had Lemuel Gamin, and that was Remembrancer for the Thousand Sons under Ahriman.
Oh yeah. Okay.
That guy was a badass. Like I
Yeah,
guess
he was
like
cool.
one point like he was a demon host, but then they were able to take the demon out, and he wasn't like affected by the warp. And they're like, I think the Space Wolves were like, oh wow, you're what do they call him? Weird wraith. You can't be affected by demons. But he was also kind of a douchebag. Like I guess like they were trying to hide from chaos, and he had like some lady like kill her child so that they couldn't, so that the crying baby wouldn't like alert the chaos.
Well, I mean, I guess at this
Man.
point we found out where the Grey Knights were like figured to rub the Sister of Battle blood on their armor. Was from this guy.
I was gonna say that sounds like our Dark Heresy game.
Oh, so dark.
So dark. So this guy became like a little bit of a cult leader later on down the road, and I think he ended up killing this Thousand Sons guy named Proteus or something like that, and so he took the name Proteus, I believe it was, or Promeus, after killing that guy. And he kind of started like this other like faction underneath him. I think there was the Proteums, which I think you have to swallow so much of his semen in order to become a Proteum.
Strict
He
entry
led by
requirements.
The proteins.
It's good for your hair, baby.
Yeah.
And there was a Sister Amadero Kendril of the Sisters of Silence. And she was friend of Garrow. I guess like she and Garrow hung out like before the heresy.
What do you think they did?
Like, did they just look at each other meaningfully?
Because Garrow was always very stoic and quiet in the novels.
Yeah.
And a Sister of Silence is, by definition, silent. Just imagine like two people sitting
Plus-
opposite sides of a table just with a clock ticking in the background.
Yeah.
Like, and they're hard to be around, right? So, like, you don't want to be around a psychic null because they suck. I just imagine, like, have you seen Jumanji?
Not the new one.
No, oh man, it's really
so good.
Yeah, it's really,
Really
good.
good.
It's really
I just imagine Garo like giving her a smoldering look, and like, like as the Rock, and like, and then her like looking meaningfully back at him,
Yeah.
and then him being like, "Oh, that's disgusting."
I tried.
I tried so hard.
This was fun. I'm leaving now. 5 minutes.
I think it's like two 16-year-old goth kids at an all-age goth club, like with the mating rituals of like, you know, trying not to look, the furtive glances. Like that's all it is.
It's like so awkward.
yeah.
I really
I
want
like poetry.
now I want a diorama of just a really awkward evening of those two hanging out. You really captured the awkwardness of what this would actually be.
Hanging out across the club from each other. I think she likes you, man.
I don't have a penis. Well, she can't talk.
They
We're
have
a
so
match
much in
made in
common.
heaven.
Neither of them have penises.
He's so tortured. I love him.
Man, so there's like that dual attraction there of like, or like that, like they catch 22, right? Like she's a psychic null, so that's awful. But she also can't talk.
It balances out.
Wow. Did you ever see the movie Cemetery Man? It's like this like spaghetti zombie movie from the
No, that sounds rad though.
Oh,
No,
okay.
it sounds amazing.
This guy like Franco de la Muerte, Frank of the Dead. He runs a cemetery, and this girl like comes in and like I guess her husband died, and he was like 90 or something like that, and like she was like 20, and
as you do.
And he's like, he wants to hook up with her. He's like, oh my god, she's so beautiful, and she's like, I loved him because he couldn't get it up. Like I was abused as a kid, and like I loved him. I never felt threatened, and so like he went to like get himself chemically castrated so that he could hook up with her. And
I mean, that does make
I
sense.
was like, yeah, that'd be great.
That's interesting.
And then anyway, and then it gets like
That's
goes
like-
downhill from there.
You're like, I could never borrow money from you because I have no money.
I'm waiting for that lady to come along. I can only be with a guy who doesn't have any money. Hey, baby, I got all your no money.
You got it all right here in this hole.
Yeah. And somebody who only has one pair of pants and they're covered in paint. I'm like, I got you.
Have you met Ted?
Man. How I Met Your Mother reference.
Yeah, you like that?
But okay, so we have our initial 12 Inquisitors.
Yeah. One thing like they'd pointed out that I didn't realize is like I guess like all the 8 Astartes had their was it the progenoid gland removed, and then it's stuck in a vault in Titan, and there's like another progenoid gland inserted into them, but the source is unknown, and like one rumor is that it's like the origin is the Emperor.
Yeah, the Emperor's gift.
That is so cool.
Yeah, that would. Oh man,
Like,
that I keep forgetting what the name of that Custodes book that I just, or they're not like Custodes.
Watchers on the Throne.
Was it? Wait, that was
This
the
came out.
Inquisitor one.
Yeah, no. The Carrion Throne was the Inquisitor one, and then Watchers of the Throne was the Custodes holding back the Khorne forces.
Oh my god.
did you read that one?
Oh, it was so good. I
Was
just
it?
finished it like this last week. Highly recommended.
Yeah, I want to read that one. It's pretty good.
So that was one option for how they came about, was that Macrame or Malkador created them.
Got a bunch of ragtag people who had been traitors and decided not to be.
Yeah.
And then a couple journalists. I went like, go dispense justice. How? I don't know. Do whatever the fuck you want.
I can't think of a group more qualified to become inquisitors than a bunch of traitors and a bunch of people that tell on other people.
It's such a disaster waiting to happen.
It's like a really shitty sitcom premise.
It's like The Odd Couple.
Okay, so we get it. So these guys are going to be cops, but they're all criminals.
So we got a whole bunch of like reform pederasts to operate this like kitty drop. Like, no, it's fine. They're recovered.
It's a daycare.
They'll be not good.
There'll be no external supervision.
I can see that as a reality show in the next 5 to 10 years.
No, they're reformed. So the other option is that there were 4 servants were gathered to determine whether the Emperor could be brought back to life. Like, so this is after the fact. So this is like Malkador isn't so much
He's
as part of it.
paste dust at this point.
Yeah. So they're trying to figure out like, well, we could. 2 of them are like, dude, we can resurrect this guy, and the other 2 are like, fuck that. We have to let everything be as it is and just leave it alone. And it comes to head, and like 2 of them bail, and they're like, well, fuck it, we're gonna resurrect the guy, and the other 2 stay home. So the 2 little piggies that go to the market.
I was just thinking that.
That's awesome. Promeus, so the same Promeus from before.
Sure.
And then this other chick, Mariana.
All I heard was Bromius, and now I just imagine him to be like a giant muscular gym guy.
You get swole.
Is she the one from the Thousand Sons book?
I don't
Just say yes.
remember that.
Sure.
I-
Okay.
but she could be. Yeah.
Okay. Sure.
If you say anything with enough conviction, but like, yeah,
Yes. Yes, it is.
yes, it is.
She was in a
So
book.
it is written.
And there were sons involved. so those 2 are the resurrectionists. Like, they have their own kind of thing. They go off to do that. The other 2 start the Inquisition. Like, fuck that. We need to stop this like in any way possible. We cannot let the Emperor come back to life. And then so they start all these cults that are into they're called the Promean followers.
Safe.
And then eventually Mariana and Promeus, after they start like what probably becomes like the Imperial cult, possibly, they also kind of come to heads too, like, and they have a falling out. They break up, and because I think like Mariana is like a radical, whereas Promeus is like
Bodacious.
super rad.
And that word needs to come back so bad.
Like, What the hell is that? Bill and
I
Ted.
do have like 7 Inquisitor models, so I now have a
Yeah.
penis colada. I have a bodacious.
Inquisitor Bodacious.
Yeah. So all part of the Wild Stallions.
They're
Oh
making
man,
it at 3.
I am so excited
so
about
excited
that.
for that. I think
really?
that'll be
Yeah.
like, yeah.
Like they're actually in the talks. I think like what is it, Alex and Keanu are
They're both in on it.
board.
Yeah. So
And
we'll
wasn't the guy
literally-
that played Death is said that he
Yes.
would do it too.
We're literally gonna have a Mob Rules episode where we just review Bill and Ted 3.
And
sounds
Strider related
amazing.
to 40K. Yeah. So I guess they've been working on that script for a bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But,
not Inquisitors.
Inquisition.
So they split. And centuries later, the Inquisition. I love this. Like the Inquisition kind of forgot like why they were created to like stop these guys, and they've gone on and done their own thing, and eventually they run into like these cults on some distant islands, and they're like, what are you guys all about? Like, we're trying, like, the Emperor's great, blah 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 blah. And like, oh, why don't you become part of us? So they adopt them. So then it creates this like sect within the Inquisition that's all about resurrecting the Emperor. So they brought him back into the fold,
I mean,
but not really.
it sounds pretty heretical to resurrect something that isn't dead. Because if you go by, I think the letter of the Imperial Truth is that he's still alive and watching over. Right?
Well, I mean, there's the group of them that wants to unplug him.
Oh yeah.
So he can be
Star
reborn.
Child.
Right, as the Star
As
Child.
David Bowie.
Maybe
One eye of a different color. Maybe he is.
Stardust.
David Bowie is the Emperor.
Yeah, there's the one group who want to unplug him, the one group who want to keep him plugged.
Because they want the status quo, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then there's the, I don't know. I mean,
What's that?
there's so many different groups, like in the
It's
Inquisition.
splintered
They have
out,
a lot
usually.
of different, like, goals and aspirations and
Yeah.
So like
turn-ons.
there's your 3 main
Long walks in the smog.
with a heretic. Or without, if you're radical or Puritan.
Or a sandwich.
Like, yeah, or a sandwich.
Or the long walks on the beach with a heretic and a sandwich.
Ordo Delicus.
Turkey and ham, please.
or
That's
really,
heresy.
or just a really awkward evening alone, uncomfortable with the Sister of Silence.
All age goth club.
Those are the Garowins.
The Carowinds. Their goal is to have uncomfortable meetings with women.
It's a noble goal.
How big are you? Not. It's a thing.
What's Latin for I have no penis?
Penis. I don't know.
But yeah, so was there
Corpo solidium? Because I think the penis is corpus spongiosum. It's a medical thing. Anyway,
so
it's hilarious for all those med students out there.
They reintegrate. Yeah, probably because they're like, yeah, he says neck. What a dumbass.
What is he talking about? The nose?
But those guys, so they reintegrate, and
Uh-huh.
now you have like crazy people trying to kill and trying to resurrect, but doing it under the same banner.
Oh, yeah. And nobody knows. Nobody knows what the hell's going on. But I think like they really took hold right around the 32nd millennium. And I think like we saw like the Beast Arises, like that Imperial Truth and all that crap, like hadn't really taken place.
They still had a lot of power then, but they weren't. The hard part for them at this point was they had no real military presence in the 32nd millennium. And we see throughout kind of the Beast Arises series that they gain the Death Watch, so they essentially get their own Space Marine chapter. And then they gain the Grey Knights as well, I believe, are kind of under the control of the Inquisition to a point for, and then what was the third one? There's
The Third Chamber Militant?
Yeah,
Is the
Sisters.
Sisters Battle. Oh yeah, the Sisters.
And Ordo Tempestus, sort of. They're often used.
I think that they just second those units
Because I think that like the Ordo Militant, like the Sisters, are also. I think they're in the kind of the same boat where like the Ordo Militant aren't Inquisitor, but they're often used. Like they're unique, whereas like the Grey Knights are exclusively for that reason. Whereas like the Sisters actually go and do other things too, but they're also like they're this in between, like, if that makes sense. Whereas like the Death Watch, like they just kill Xenos.
Well, I think the Sisters of Battle are used by the Ecclesiarchy quite a bit as well.
yeah,
So I think that like
they're like the Coast Guard. Or like
I don't even know what that compares. Sure, Ted. Yeah,
they get some federal funds, they get some local money. There's sort of police. There's sort of
Corpus Gardus.
yeah, there you go.
that actually means penis.
But yeah, like now they have like as of the 32nd millennium, I think like we see them more and kind of causing more of an imprint because, well, one, they stopped Terra from imploding in on itself, but now
that's nice of them.
Each of them has their own distinct military, very good military faction underneath them.
Mm-hmm. And so, yeah, the icon though, regardless, that came from Malkador. We do know that, like that,
Right, because that's his personal heraldry.
Yeah,
was the I. For whatever reason, his name starts with an M.
I think the Latin letter M is an I. Not really.
The I is silent.
Yeah, like Inri or something. I don't know.
What's the name? Malkador. Okay, Malkador. No. Malkador.
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 The I is silent.
Or his first name is Ian. Yeah. It's Ian Malkador.
Often mistaken for Doug, but no, it's Ian.
They're like, hey, Ian, I told you never to call me that name again. It's Malkador.
And this is
It's not a phase, Mom.
that's his goth club name, Malkador.
He's like, I think I'm going to get robot legs.
It's not a phase, Mom. This is who I am now. I'm Malkador.
More like Malkadork.
Wow. Well, you're getting your face paint on the vanity, so whatever it is, keep it to your room.
Oh, his mom doesn't like this new kid he's hanging around with.
What's his name?
Garrow kid.
It's Ed Emperor. I don't know. Yeah.
Well, you just tell Steven's mother I said hello. It's the Emperor Mom. No, man, now I really want like a Muppet Babies thing.
Yeah.
This thing's going on. Dude, I've talked about that for like 3 years
What?
now.
The Muppet
like
Babies?
Primark Babies.
Yeah, well, you saw those, right? That like somebody had done like a whole bunch of the Primark
they
babies.
did
like,
a bunch of chibi figures for him.
yeah, but I think like they didn't sell them. I think like somebody just like made like one-offs. But I think I've seen like some chibi of like 40K stuff. But yeah, there was like a great one. Like what was I like the White Scars one, the Khan,
Yeah.
where he's like on a rocking horse. Like, that's so good.
That's funny.
So Inquisitors come from lots of different places, from mommies, from horses, and back alleys.
Generally orphans.
Yeah,
I remember reading somewhere.
maybe if that's where acolytes come from.
Well, they might pick him up from the what's the place that they send commissars to?
Oh, they like the
Orpheus.
Imperial
The Prefectus
Academy,
or whatever.
The Prefectus.
Yeah.
It's like the school because they're split into like assassins, commissars, or inquisitors.
That's right. Yeah,
Which-
depending on if you go through the
and
ranks.
stormtroopers.
Yeah, which is like the most fucked up personality quiz someone probably has to take because they're like, you see a person standing in front of you, what do? You're like, take a shitload of drugs, then stab them with my power sword, shoot my own man, like multiple choice A, B, C, D, kind of like BuzzFeed style questions.
Sure.
And then like they just disappear. So they become acolytes, right? They're like, all right, then all of a sudden Steve is gone. And
Well, I think there's a
becomes
lot of different ways to become an inquisitor,
Yeah.
honestly. Like, I think that some people become, like an interrogator or whatever, right?
Oh, okay.
And they might start at that category, like after they get out of school.
I like an example of
like
this would be-
Eisenhorn, right?
And then he bought a change of
And
class
also from
at the
recent
inn.
Yeah, the Carrion Throne book, Spinoza.
Sure,
is an interrogator with aspirations of being an inquisitor.
Yeah, and well, she wasn't an Arbite before that, was she?
I don't think so. There was an
don't believe
Arbite
so.
in the story.
Never
but I
mind.
don't think
Okay,
she was.
I'm thinking of something else. But like
She was fresh out of the Inquisitor Academy.
right, sure. But like you see stuff like in like Eisenhorn, right? Where like some of his henchmen like gradually become like their own like interrogators or whatever, and so then they get like an apprenticeship or whatever to become like an inquisitor as well.
I think that was kind of it. Is like the acolyte is like your training ground to become an inquisitor. So you're probably picked up out of that planet, become an acolyte, and then eventually, and that's like the natural progression. But like you were saying, like that's not the only way you could do it. Like sometimes somebody comes along and they're like, "Holy shit, this guy's amazing! Let's just make him an inquisitor," and they have to go through a little tribunal of like, "All right, 3 inquisitors have to sign off on this," and then now all of a sudden you have your library pass.
You get your merit badge.
Oh man, it's like
Exactly.
Jedi Knights.
Yeah.
Like that best part when Anakin gets his training refused. Like standing in front of the Council of Inquisitors, you're like, no, you're too old to start the training.
You're too old to become an inquisitor. Too young, rather, in this case.
Much heresy.
And I think, like, yeah, so inquisitors. So then another way is, like, if you're an acolyte and you're hanging out with an inquisitor, and the inquisitor dies, and you grab his stuff. His seal.
Oh,
then,
dude, yeah. Possession is 9/10 of Inquisition.
Dude, he gave this to me before he died. I swear. He just
Swear to
handed
God,
it to me.
I'm an Inquisitor now.
Yeah. Don't question me or I'll kill you.
I think that would be like a really interesting story. Would be like in the outer reaches or like the far edges of the galaxy of someone pretending to be an Inquisitor.
Oh, yeah.
Like that, just because, there's like
Pull in a box of women over and like,
Yeah.
I'm an inquisitor. Need to see your driver's license and your
It's not
boobies.
like there's like a master directory of Inquisitors.
Yeah.
So like essentially your badge is your office.
But like an official rosette is hard to get, right? Like,
oh yeah, you have to kill an
and
Inquisitor.
They have the
Okay.
blockchain on their seal, though, so they're able to actually go back to the server and tell doing the
I thought it
blockchain
projected
technology.
a hologram or whatever.
know.
Like you could see it. Like so, it was like, hey, like I'll press this button, and it becomes like a handheld bat signal.
Oh, yeah. It probably
At least
does.
that's how I imagined it when
Yeah.
they talk about it in books.
their personal heraldry. So,
Sure.
Like, that's a trash can. Like, we ran out of really good icons. Like, that's all I had.
It's like those weird flashlights that you had when a kid, where you could project like an image on like the.
I think by weird you mean amazing.
Oh, sorry, I misspoke. You're right, John.
Corrected.
But yeah, like I said, there's not like the kind of the whole thing about being like a secret organization is there's not like a master list of files
Sure.
Yeah.
of who's an Inquisitor and who's not. So
And that was the thought that came across my mind is like, do they or do they not?
So
Like,
I think that they do at like the homeworlds or like because they have to show like who like what Inquisitors they have and then who's working under them.
and I think we'll get into this
Yeah.
in a second because
Sure.
that
Yeah,
does
sure,
come
sure,
underneath
sorry.
some of the hierarchy. There is no hierarchy. So we just answered that for
son
you.
of a bitch. This comes under my next section. There's no answer.
There is
So that
no
was
section.
Inquisition. I hope you enjoyed our episode today. So, but yeah, they're like so we have Ordos. I think you're starting to.
Yeah,
Oh yeah, sorry, I jumped ahead.
No, you're fine. But I think like I'm just suggesting we're gonna get to the. So we have like the three major Ordos, right? Like Xenos.
Right.
I think we should like sing this or something like that, or like sound off.
Oh.
Or, like we should.
Xenos.
And it's Ordo Hereticus, Hereticus, Hereticus.
Xenos.
So Xenos is threat without. All right.
The
tagline
enemy
will be
without, right?
The enemy without, yeah. So we have Hereticus, threat within, and Malleus, threat from beyond. Which sounds like an 80s horror movie.
But I mean, I love it's a really nice division.
Yeah.
Because like for me, I'm like demons and aliens. Come on, that's pretty much the same thing. But no, it's completely different.
Sure.
Because the signs are different. Like your Order Xenos is going to be a lot more.
It's an eye with a squiggly next to it
It's-
versus an eye with an underline.
It's not going to be like a like undercover investigation to unearth like a demon cult. It's going to be like, oh, this Tau planet right here. It's going to go jump on down and be like, get the fuck off of my rock.
And then I guess the nice thing about like the Tau showing up is that it's like it's free money, I think, for the Ordo Xenos. You know, they're like, I know that I don't have to like lose this gig to the Ordo Malleus.
Yeah,
You know, it's-
yeah. This is definitely
they don't associate
Well-
it. This is good. We're gonna keep these guys sort of in the game so that we don't lose our paychecks.
Yeah,
And so I feel like Inquisitors can pretty much do what they want though. Like
yeah.
so like if they encounter demons, like they may call in for support or whatever, but
Yeah.
a Xenos Inquisitor isn't gonna let like a demon uprising happen, right? I mean he's gonna do what he can to stop it, even though it's
Because
not a
he's still going to
specialty.
have knowledge about it.
Right.
And it's not like he's going to be like, fuck, this is Dale's jurisdiction.
Yeah, dude, I don't want
have
to
we
step
seen
on
that in the
Dale's
stor-
toes.
Have we seen?
Well, okay. Example.
Okay.
I mean, I hate to bring it back to this, right? Because they're old, but like Eisenhorn books, right? Like he.
They did make a model recently, so
sure,
they're
sure.
relevant.
Right. Relevant. I'm smacking my gavel here.
Ordo relevance.
So, like at one point, he finds a Dark Elder homunculus, like in league with the Chaos Cult. So he has to fight against aliens.
Okay.
He has to fight against a bunch of heretical aliens, like
Yeah.
who are like demon worshippers, Slanesh worshippers. Those big, those weird like Lovecraft tetrapod things or whatever.
Ooh, that's hot.
Yeah, lots of tentacles. And then he fights against a bunch of demons and stuff like that, and a bunch of like heretical cults. So I mean, he fights against like all the different aspects. And I
Okay.
mean, Granted, the books are all named after the different Ordos, right?
Okay.
I mean, yeah, there might have been some like thematic device being used.
But
there.
does he really switch off between them as he goes through?
I think the thing is like what separates them isn't necessarily what they fight against on the day to day, but what their end goal is. So, like, if you're like a Order Hereticus and you're investigating like a Chaos cult, and you come across a Gene Stealer cult, you're not gonna walk away from it because it's still your job to get rid of
Not
heresy.
my jurisdiction.
But maybe that's working towards your eventual goal of finding this like demon cult. So it's just about having SMART goals.
Sure.
I think that was kind of the neat thing about not having hierarchy and not having they're talking about like how some of the Ordos and there's other so there's like sub Ordos and there's like subgroups within Ordo, like sub Ordos and stuff like that. Like it's all it's fluid and fluctuates depending on the need.
I think,
and then you have minor Ordos too, right? Like the Ordo Cronus.
I was gonna say that's like one of my favorite ones because they're just investigating how to time travel,
right? Or like how like people coming back from the past or from the future. Like how that would affect things, and
I think it was like going through like the list of like Ordos because there's like unlimited lists, like there isn't like a definitive, and that's where I was like, holy shit, this is hella British. Like, it just kind of reminded me of like Monty Python in so many ways, or Brazil.
The Ordos of silly walks.
Yeah, totally. So like you had like Ordo Aegis, and they were the people who watched the Acadian Gate. Sorry about your job.
Downsize.
Yeah.
Did you see, again, sidebar here, but like GW on their 40K Facebook page?
Yeah.
They put a picture up that said like hordes of 40K fans looking for an FAQ, and it was like a chaos horde. And then it was like our servers in response, and it was just like broken Cadia.
Oh,
it was so well done.
It was really good.
Yeah. But they were responsible for Cadia. But to me, there's interest. There's meat on that bone there. Like, what are they doing now? What are they?
There's other things.
Yeah,
for sure.
yeah.
So they're not out of a job. So there's the Ordo vending machine repairs, and that's what they're usually going to. No, not really. Okay,
Those
so there's
snacks
Ordos
are important. I like snacks.
Yeah.
defend the flappy gate at the bottom to make sure no heretic.
Make sure no one heretics reach their arm in.
Only one Twix.
Well, they actually do let people do that, but it's a trap to get them stuck so then they can come and collect the heretics.
Why is there so much blood on the bottom of this vending machine? Don't worry about it. That Twix looks inviting, doesn't it?
I'm sure you can grab two if you pound the thing hard enough. So there's Ordo Astartes. You can imagine what they do. Ordo Barbarus, they watch over.
They cut hair.
Industry. Yeah. You're looking a little shaggy there. No, I'm fine. Heresy.
I'll show the way the Emperor wanted it.
If it wisps on the ears,
if no
off
skin,
with your head.
Like the Emperor has no skin on his head, what makes you think you need some?
He can't grow hair.
Skull face.
Ordo Cronus, yeah.
On the Order Cronus,
But they all vanished.
They learned how to time travel. That's what happened.
I think it's like I said, they're defending against time travelers as well. Could you imagine like us in like 2050 or 18? Shit, I gave myself away. Us in 2018, kind of like inventing time travel. Like, yeah, let's go to the future. You go to the future, and you just get fucking shot in the face because he's like, you're dangerous.
You have dangerous ideas.
With your Captain America shirt and So then there's the Ordo Illuminati.
What?
Yeah.
Is that a real thing?
Dude, wait till the next one. So underneath
What's your source?
underneath the Ordo Illuminati, there's the Ordo Hydra.
Ooh.
But they're not talked about since Marvel got really big and bought by Disney.
Right. So the company who's well known for cease and desist, or over cease and desist.
The Ordo Hydra disappeared after causing market confusion.
2 did not show up afterwards. So using strange methods to stop
4
chaos.
came back. It's a really bad Hydra joke. I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
no, mine was bad enough. I should have just stopped there. So then there's the Ordo Custodum, and and they hang out in the palace and make sure all the trash is emptied and the plants are watered.
Who custodes the custodes?
the Ordo Custodes, actually.
I mean, imagine that you work your whole life, you bring yourself up from this abandoned orphan, you get found on this planet by an Inquisitor, you're an acolyte for decades, you become an interrogator, and then you're given your own seal and you're an Inquisitor yourself. You're like, yeah, go change Dave's trash.
Jesus Christ.
Hey, and while you're in there, see what he's doing.
There's a whole lot of toilet paper going missing. We have
We've noticed there's a lot of pens gone from the office supplies. Check his drawers and see if he's got anything
Jeff,
in there.
the custodes, stuffing his armor with toilet paper, so he's a real muscly boy.
And pens.
his dad is a slate with like Excel on it, like going through inventory. It looks as though we're missing 3 staplers, 42 pens.
Jeff, why is your wrist computer drawn on in Sharpie? Don't worry about it.
It wasn't a dry erase Sharpie. So then there's the Ordo Excorium, which overlooks Exterminatus. Ordo
That's such
Machinum.
that's such a plush job. You're an Inquisitor. You oversee Exterminatus. Was that planet destroyed? Yes.
Why?
Good job.
Well, like, yeah,
Check
but
yes.
but like, if it was destroyed unjustly, like, you'd have to punish those, I would imagine.
By
right?
Exterminatus.
Right. That's an awesome job. I'm not disagreeing with you. That sounds like the
That's
best
like-
Ordo to be.
Yeah,
of.
that's like a desk job. Like, you're getting paid the same as all the other Ordos, but you're literally just making sure some other guy presses a button.
Oh yeah.
right, and does it right.
Yeah.
follows the. Well, I mean, it's probably a prayer book, but like,
Says the right sacrament and spills the right oil.
God, you like imagine like how many like self-defecants like happen when like a Ordo exterminate your planet like shows up to like refuel their spaceship. Like, wait, is that one of the destroy our planet Ordo guys?
Hi, welcome to our planet. Whoa, I'm an Inquisitor. Oh, what Ordo? Don't worry about it.
Ordo blow up your planet. Fuck.
That's why they use the Latin name now.
Excorium.
so nobody knows.
Dude, I'm just stopping. We're going to Eleanor. So then there's the Ordo Militarum. Ordo Originatus. Oh, this is where like it got really good. There's the Ordo Originatus. I think, did you make mention to that? The who tried to figure out why the Inquisition was created and how.
That is the most bureaucratic thing I've ever heard.
And then there's the Ordo Redactus,
They're
who try to keep it all like censored.
I was gonna say those are like the inquisitorial ombudsman. Like,
I
like
just
they're
love the
just
idea that there's a whole Ordo who are like, where did we come from? Why are we here? And then there's another Ordo right across from mine. Don't worry about it. Stop fucking asking.
Yeah. Hey, is that a piece of paper you wrote on? Let me see that. Black Sharpie, the whole thing. Like,
redacted.
that's what their rosette does. It's actually just a Sharpie. Like, they pull off one end of it and they can like cross stuff out.
Wow.
Yeah.
I love it. So like as they're going, like one person is on one end of like the scroll,
Yeah,
like,
the
scripture,
scroll,
like,
right?
writing.
And the other guy's on the other end. Like,
They get paid for this shit. Yep.
The dude's just like, stop it.
these are important.
Stop it.
Stop pushing.
These are important functions of the imperial bureaucracy of the administration.
Now I really just want to film like someone writing and be censored at the same time.
Hey, are you done with that pen? No, get away.
Many a slap fight were had.
Until after like 200 years, they're just like, fuck it, I don't care anymore.
God, just erase it.
Why did we give these guys the same office space? Why did we think that was a good idea?
Really bad 90s sitcom ideas.
Alternatively, it's not so nice, and they're just like shooting each other over this, like constantly assassinating each other.
But nobody else knows.
Right.
Nobody knows what's happening.
Or cares.
Because it's all redacted.
Right. No. Man, those guys are slightly better at this.
It was written down and then it's shredded. So then there's the Ordo Scriptorium, who monitors communications. Ordo Scriptusum oversees the records. Order Spiltorum monitors plagues.
And
I
spills.
mean, that sounds.
They're like, there's an oil spill, like they have to go like cordon it off.
Ordo plastic and whale guts.
But no, it's just like if you have the Order Hereticus who are already tracking demon stuff, like they must look down on those guys so bad. What do you? I track plagues. Oh, I track that plus like 3 other fucking things. Get on my goddamn level.
Baby steps, man. Baby steps.
This is why you don't play with the big boys, son.
Why don't you go track another plague, dipshit?
This must be what it's like to be in like Congress or something like that, where you have all these other like senators that are like, yeah, we have a subcommittee that researches waterfowl, and you're like, oh, we're part of Ways and Means. We have all the money.
Yeah.
Oh, right. Yeah, you guys with all the money.
We got $10 in a pack of stamps from Ducks Unlimited
But we know where plagues have been.
and ducks. Ordo waterfallius.
Did you say a waterfowl?
Yeah.
Yes, I did. It's that stealth penis joke.
So then the lastly, Order, really not lastly, but Order Sicarius, which is for assassins.
I thought it was for Cato Sicarius.
Yeah, like look at all the cool tanks.
Something that was like super cool and came up through some of the heresy books is Gulliman had set up his like Imperium Secundus, like for like setting up by himself for when that goes away. He had his own mini Inquisition as part of that.
Oh,
because kind of like again, knowing that for this shit to run and to run right, he needs like people to get their hands dirty.
okay.
So like this idea of an Inquisition is kind of integral to how these places run. Yeah, I think it was an unremembered empire. I don't know, but yeah, like Gulliman had his own little dirty Inquisitor task force.
He really did think of everything.
I guess that's important. I mean, if you have like some of those guys in your pocket, because like, I mean, even Gulliman isn't above the Inquisition. You know, like an Inquisitor can show up and tell Gulliman to stick it, and Gulliman has to stick it. I mean,
that Inquisitor would probably get shot by 40 Marines
yeah,
before Gulliman stuck. I don't think. I feel it would be kind of that asshole. It's like, you can go stick it, Gulliman. He's like, okay, I'm gonna go find a stick, and then like all of these Marines would surround the guy, who'd come back and be like, I didn't find it. Oh, you're dead. Oh.
It's a real shame.
legally he has to listen to him, but he does have that big bolter strapped to his fist. So then, so after Ordos, we have the cabals, conclaves, and cells. And I think this kind of gets into like what you were saying about like the local archive of who's who is like within, because like you have like, so you have your different Ordos, and that was kind of like what you like. It's your personality traits, INTFS or whatever. And but then like after that, like you have your regional like
assistant to the regional Inquisitor.
Yes, and that'd be like your conclave.
It's Inquisitor Lord.
So it'd be like all the Inquisitors in your area, like all get on like the Nextdoor app, and like they have their Inquisitor Nextdoor app. And then like after that, then you have cabals, which are kind of like
it was gonna be like, we're getting into Dark Eldar now.
Man, I love Cabalites.
Interesting. There's a correlation between the two. Kind of unnerving. But yeah, they're like a more secretive kind of group of Inquisitors.
I mean, how fucked up do you have to be the secretive part of a secret organization?
Yeah.
It's a special kind. That's the answer to that.
Special kind.
It's like an eyes wide shut kind of a thing.
They're all wearing just like the little masks.
Yeah, and all their Inquisitor keys are in the bowl.
They all have cat masks.
They're all wearing like 6-inch lifts to make them look taller. Tom Cruise joke.
And now I just started thinking of a bunch of furries for some reason.
That's a different Ordo.
They're called Jakaro.
They're not really. They're not really a race. They're just a whole bunch of Inquisitors in fuzzy costumes.
Are they an acolyte or a pet?
Yes.
It can be both. Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, Scooby-Doo can be a friend and a pet.
I mean, anything can be your friend. Right?
Yeah, it's really beautiful, man.
Pet rock. I love lamp. So we have those cabals, and we also have the cells, and the cell is a little bit more transparent group of dudes with a mission versus like the super secret eyes wide shut version.
They're exhibitionists in themselves. Yeah.
They're the guys who are like, you know, like that TV show Archer, when he keeps telling people he's a secret agent, and you got to stop telling people you're a secret agent. They're the guys who are like, hey, I'm an inquisitor.
I'm an inquisitor.
I'm here in this town looking for a chaos cult that formed about 2 weeks ago. You know anything about it? And they never do really well because they give each other away really quickly.
Yeah.
That would be the kind of inquisitor I would be. And then when I didn't get results, I would just start burning things.
Hi, I'm an inquisitor. Hi. I'm looking for answers. Hi. Anybody?
I could see you, Danny, being an inquisitor, and your superiors being like, you haven't found anyone. You're just looking over at the first person to your right, shooting, and then be like, who's him?
Prove me wrong.
May the emperor have mercy on his soul. Then going back to your book.
As you sit there and like write stuff and then mark it out. I can't. I have proof right here, but it was redacted.
Please get this man out of my
Oh
office.
man. Promote him immediately. Yeah. It's the best order reductus inquisitor I've ever seen. He redacted his own.
That's dedication, man.
It really is.
Can't be proven wrong.
I just want him to appear like the guy's filling out his form, and then he turns around to do something, and this little inquisitor pops up from under the table and just really sharpens things real quick, and then ducks back again. And he's like, "Oh fuck, it's redacted already."
To be fair, the inquisitor themselves would not do that. They would send somebody else to do it for them, right? I mean, because you have like people
Maybe
to do
like
that
a
stuff for you.
servitor with Sharpies for fingers.
Oh my god, it's a perfect redacting machine. It spits white out.
They were too busy asking themselves if they could. They never asked themselves if they should.
Redaction always finds a way.
Like what? Like it's like Nepter from like Adventure Time, the pie throwing robot.
That is the most perfect machine ever made.
So an Inquisitor, once again, like they have ultimate power, ultimate jurisdiction. They could tell a High Lord to suck it, or Robo Goalie Man. But I think like in a way, there's kind of like this balance. Like so, if they start to get out of hand and start like demanding too many things or like unrighteous things, like they do have the fear of the Astartes saying, "Nope, dead." And
well, I think even if they get out of hand, they'll be like, "Oh, he was a heretic. Prove me wrong. He's dead now."
Right.
I think there's like so much they can get away with,
Yeah.
and then it just becomes like obvious that they're fucked up, and you know, like you can't cover your trails forever, kind of a thing.
Well, it's like if you go against like a High Lord as an Inquisitor,
Yeah.
then like it might be the thing where like, "Oh yeah, take me away. I'm gonna go grab a bag," and then you end up dead in the room. So like I said, it's like the system's like super weird where these people have ultimate power, and they can do whatever they want by the letter of imperial law.
Yeah.
But it's still a case where if they go after the wrong person, they will be murdered very quickly.
Sure.
And by their own people too.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
they're self-checking for that reason.
Yeah.
You know, I think they know that like if they go too far, like they overreach, like the gig is up.
Yeah.
You know. So.
Just trying to protect their spots.
Yeah. So in lieu of not having a hierarchy, they do have something of like I mean, it seems like it's all like based on the individual like thing, right? Like it's like, what do we need here? Okay, like let's create a thing that deals with that thing. And then, but outside of that, like everybody's like it's about influence and like what you've kind of done. So you have. You know, people understand like a Lord Inquisitor is more important than an acolyte or like the Ordo vending machine in Guardius. And then you have like, you know, Grand Masters who are above them, and so like there is kind of like a understood thing, but I don't know if it's like on a spreadsheet where you can look at the.
Again, it's like this is like very Game of Thrones ass.
I don't think they have like an org chart.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, there's no like a 2 direct reports kind of like, you know,
Right.
organizational structure. Like I know like they have an Inquisitor sits on the High Lords, right? Or is that
Yes.
yeah, like
Oh, okay.
so there's an
They have a
Inquisitor.
representative on the High
They have a
Lords.
representative on the High Lords Council. So I think it's just kind of like the most senior person at Terra, and I think it all goes back to the self-checking, where like again, the higher up you are in any kind of imperial position, the more in danger you are. And you know, the self-checking part means that person isn't really going to rock the boat more than they have to, otherwise they're going to end up getting like, you know, murdered by 15 different people. So like I said, it's absolute power, but it's more I believe an illusion of power. Because when it really comes down to it,
What do you mean illusion of power?
I mean, they can go requisition armies, they can go fight here, they can go fight and do that,
Yeah.
but they can't really enact any real change. So that's where the illusion of the Inquisition power
like
comes
social
from.
change kind of thing?
Yeah, like they can't go overthrow all the High Lords. They can't go do all this stuff here. I mean, they can threaten to do it.
So it's like the court system, where the court system can tell you yes or no or whatever, but they can't legislate from the bench, so to speak.
Right, exactly. Okay. So like, while it's security theater almost. You know, they have all of this power, and they can do a lot of stuff, but they can't really enact anything real. They can fight the Imperium's battles. But like when they're fighting the enemy within, they're just really searching out people that are trying to affect the status quo of the Imperium.
So it seems like it's like a soft kind of change. Like if there is a change, like it's like a soft change versus like that vulgar like change that like the High Lords can come along and like, all right, now everybody's gonna pay 2 shillings and they have to have red cars brought to you by Chevy. And whereas like the Inquisition, they can go and like do all their inquisitoring and discover things, then bring it out and like let the other legislators kind of do what they will with it. So it's like a soft kind of.
And I think just like the assassins are there to kind of keep planetary governors in line. People are going to be in line if they know there's thousands of random inquisitors going about, able to do whatever the fuck they want, whenever the fuck they want. So you better toe the goddamn line. But like I said, I think it's just another tool to kind of a little puppetry.
Yeah, I think it's kind of interesting. Like when we did the Beast Arises, they were talking about like the Inquisitors. What was her name? I was bad with names, but the Inquisitor chick,
Wyland.
Wynand.
Yeah.
She was constant. Like there was that like she was hunted for a while.
Yeah,
and
by the Inquisition.
Right. And I think like whenever we talked about Inquisitors, like there was, and even with like the Carrion Throne, like there were Inquisitors that were like kind of like over each other, and like they were kind of vying for territory and like vying, like they were always looking over their shoulder, which I guess is the Imperium in general.
Yeah, it's just how the Imperium,
unless you're a hive ganger, I think. Like, even then, but so that's all I got on Inquisition.
My favorite was making fun of all the different stupid Ordos.
Yep, ditto.
It's good. It's good, and also uncomfortable dinners.
Really?
I'll always remember uncomfortable dinners. Remember between the 2 original Inquisitors?
Oh yeah.
Your psychic null and your dude who doesn't talk and has no dick.
So do they? So with Sisters of Silence, do they have mouths?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, they just vow not
They've
to.
vowed
not
to
to speak.
because in the Beast Arises book, they broke their vow.
Oh, okay.
And part of their thing was they came back and they retook their vow in front of the Emperor, and then they were able to help.
And I think that chick that Kendril or whatever, like she broke her vow too, I guess at some point. So
probably because she was like, "Would you stop chewing with your mouth open?" My God, fucking stop, Garrow.
No means no.
And they're like the best old married couple.
Oh man, but yeah, I'm good for Inquisition.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. It's kind of weird. Is like they're like the CD agency, like they have like all these like mixed plots and everything, but in a way, like I felt that they were like the less bullshit, like less shitty of like a lot of the lore. Like everybody seems to have this like the shitty aspect that like that just undermines any integrity whatsoever. But it's almost as though like by looking at it, they're like,
I mean, some of them are dirty though, Ted.
Yeah, no, on an individual level, you're right, totally.
Sure.
But as like an organization, I didn't feel that was the case so much.
Oh, I see. Well, I mean, other than like the slaughter of millions of innocent people for like seeing a demon or something.
All right, there's that. For sure. All right.
That's a great place to leave it on. Yeah. Demon slaughter. Good times. All right, we're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back.
Yay. Man, ladies kept checking their drinks. Thanks, Bill Cosby.
Hey, buddy, have you tried chocolate? It's a natural aphrodisiac that doesn't trigger any of the FBI's chemical tests.
Wow. Thanks, guy.
Where are you going?
To the grocery store.
Chocolate for that special lady that doesn't know she's special. Yet.
Hey.
God, we are back.
Yeah.
Woo.
That
was pretty full. I mean, I know I want to talk to Danny a little bit about like orcs and tabletop stuff, but then we got dropped with this massive FAQ.
Oh my God! Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Across things, and man, I got so excited about that. So I know there was someone
orcs
asking
next time.
Had a semi all day.
Someone was asking us how to play orcs and kind of some good orc stuff, and yeah, that can wait.
Oh okay.
Yeah.
I don't know. I've only lost, I think, like one game in 8th edition with orcs. Like, I think they're definitely doing really good. So.
They're real good. It's just no ways to run. It's all you know.
For sure. Lots of Gretchen. That's the answer.
Whoa, that is
Not
not
the answer.
Did you see that, like, the article that somebody wrote? They math hammered what it would take to have 2,000 points of Grotz versus a Warlord Titan, and like they actually the math hammered that, and they didn't give you the total answer, but we followed the math through, and it like within 2.5 turns the Titan was dead. You literally couldn't fill your deployment zone with that many Grotz.
But you wouldn't be able to get enough Grotz within base-to-base contact.
Part of their math was that and this is where I think it kind of like fell short, and went to the Grotz favor. Like in their math, they showed like the Titan shooting and then running into hand and stomping a bunch of them.
Mm-hmm.
But they were only able to kill like 26 a turn or something like that.
Only.
But the Grotz
That's not even a whole unit.
It took 90 Grotz to take off one wound, and I think like you ended up with multiple. Like, I think
you have like what 60 wounds on a Warlord?
Yeah, something like that.
Something like that. So it'd be like 3,500 Grotz.
It was I had to find it, but it was like was it 2,000 points? It was like 6,000 points or something like that of like Grotz. 2,000 Grotz is what it came out to be.
Mm-hmm.
That sounds about right.
Yeah,
right,
it was a lot. I mean, I don't think with the 12-inch blaster, I don't think you can get all of your Grotz in there. So. But they had done like the math to figure out like how many you can get into, like based on their like slightly less than 1-inch circle bases.
I mean, so the answer to how to get good at orcs is run 2,000 Grotz.
And your opponent plays only a Warlord.
Or no, it probably worked because you would literally have 4,000 points more than your opponent in most cases, which I feel even with just Grotz would be pretty good.
Yeah, that could win.
That could win. Yeah, it's pretty good. So cheat horribly.
That's your answer.
All right, so we'll be back in a couple of weeks here with episode 74, 75.
Whichever.
Well, whatever it is, 70-something. Yeah, for Mob Rules, I've been John.
Hi, John.
Hi. Bye.
Oh, yeah. Sorry,
Yeah,
right. Bye. Bye, Danny.
Bye.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming.
Yeah, thanks. Appreciate it.
This episode of Mob Rules has been brought to you by Mob Rules Media. Please join our Facebook group and be part of the conversation at facebook.com/mobrulesak. You can also email us at themob@tophat-arts.com. Thanks for checking us out, and we will see you in 2 weeks.